All right, what's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night. That means another edition of the Big Three podcast. Once again, we're short Jordan, but he should be back next week. But I'm always joined by, I know he's living it up on the seas, but we're here. We got a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, Jake, Dylan, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, can't complain. I mean, the weather just keeps getting nicer and nicer, and my mood keeps getting better and better along with it. So, go figure.
Yeah, exactly. So why is this episode going to be so good? We're bringing back another mock draft. We're going to do 3 rounds today. Each of us will take a team. We actually have Lennon who will be coming on in a few minutes. He'll take my Patriots. I had to give him up. It's going to be tough, but I'll control my adopted team, the Falcons. So
you just got Jeff Okudah
we'll have
today.
some fun with that. I know. Big move by them. Kind of changed my strategy a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
but Anthony Price, appreciate you tuning in.
I thought Atlanta was a pretty prime Christian Gonzalez destination. So, them getting Okudah
I did too.
Changes in my tone a little bit. And I'm thinking like Miles Murphy is who I'm thinking there now.
Yeah.
He visited there,
Well,
so that's who I think.
We'll see how the board falls. So Anthony,
When they
also
CPUs
asked,
draft, it's crazy.
I know we'll never know which way it's going to go. So Anthony asked, "Can I do my Washington?" You absolutely can.
Yeah. When we get to
We
Washington,
have no
we'll
problem
wait
with that.
for you to take their pick.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just stick around for the mock draft, and we'll let you have Washington for sure. We also have play-in tournament, which starts tonight. So we're going to go through the little brackets. We'll make our predictions for the play-in. I guess I'll leave it up to you guys if we should do just the play-in tonight or go through the first round. Well, I guess we should go through the first round because those games
Will
are
it
this
start
weekend.
before our next day? Oh, okay. So yeah, we should
It would.
definitely have
Yeah,
to do that.
so we'll definitely
Sorry, Jordan.
look at the first round matchups and give our predictions.
We already know who Jordan has winning it all up the West. Yeah, we already know who Jordan has winning it, the whole thing. It just matters what
Exactly.
the East looks like.
Right. So we'll fill it all out for him. Lakers. Doesn't matter who they play. They're still gonna sweep everybody. We get it. Okay. Yeah. So I think we'll start with NBA because we'll say the NFL, get that mock draft at the end of the show. So like I said, play-in tournament starting, and when the league implemented this a few years ago, some people kind of pushed back like, "Oh, I don't want to see that." I feel like it's done wonders for the team. For the league, because now more teams are involved, and that's always a good thing. That's what leagues want. More markets involved. Fans feel like, "Oh, my team has a chance to at least make the playoffs." And we have some big name teams in the play-in this year. So let me go ahead and pull up the bracket so we can talk about that. It's a little delayed. Hold on. I always have to remove it and bring it back so I can see it. I don't know why.
I love technology.
All right, so there we go. You guys see it?
Not
You guys
yet.
good?
I just see some
you don't
ads.
Yeah, I see a Postmates ad.
Oh, I guess it reset the window.
Something
Yeah.
delicious.
Oh, there we
there
go.
we go. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, reset the window on me. All right, so here we go. This is the play-in bracket. We got Pelicans, Thunder over here on this side. Lakers, Timberwolves in the West. We got Heat, Hawks, Dylan's Hawks. On the East side, 7-8 matchup.
4.
Raptors, Bulls, 9-10. We'll go ahead and start with the West side, then go to the East side. But so Pelicans, Thunder, what's at stake in the 9-10 matchup? The winner moves on to face the loser of 7-8
Of the 8,
for a
yeah,
chance to get the 8th seed.
Yeah, winner. So basically, what's online is the chance to play for the 8th seed.
Right. And the loser would just go home. So Looking at the Pelicans Thunder, what are your initial thoughts? Like, who do you think has the advantage in this matchup? Who do you think's the player to watch in this matchup? We can start with Jake on this one.
I mean, for me, I'm picking the Thunder to win this one. They're a feisty team. They're really young. They're really athletic. They have a bunch of people you can throw at them. They're actually pretty fun to watch. And SGA, to me, he's a true star. He's a true legit dude that you want on your team that can score in big moments. The Pelicans, they have Brandon Ingram, and I like him. I like a lot of the players for the Pelicans. It's just the Thunder just have so many dudes. It's an exciting story too, because this is a team was supposed to be tanking. Here they are in the play-in game. They have a good young roster, and I think they're going to just be a little too much for the Pelicans. The Pelicans they need Zion back, and it's not going to happen. He's only played a handful of games this year. I just think this is going to be SGA's coming out party. A lot of people in the NBA already know him. He's a star. A lot of people have him on all NBA spots and all that, but this is going to help him be elevated to the mainstream media as one of the top 15, if not top 10 players in the league, because he can just go nuclear any given night.
Yeah. Dylan, I mean, are you leaning the same way with the Thunder? Do you think the Pelicans?
Yeah, I think I mean, them being in the play-in tournament, it's like, why would they not play their hardest now? It's like if they were trying to tank and get a good draft pick, like a young team would probably be expected to do like this, they wouldn't have made the play-in in the first place. And now that they're in it, like, they're gonna go for it. Like, why not? It's right there for them. Yeah, I'm taking the Thunder in this one. They're probably gonna have to play, I would probably say, the Timberwolves in the next round, which would be a lot tougher of a matchup for them. But this Thunder team is young. It's hungry. I live in Oklahoma, so I'm surrounded by a bunch of Thunder stuff, and people love it. People love seeing this team in the play-in. It's kind of like the Thunder's identity. It's like, when they had those bad teams with just Russell Westbrook, it's like, oh, we don't even expect you guys to make the playoffs, and they're killing it. Like, there's 4 seeds at the time, and it's just, that's not Oklahoma's identity. It kind of seems like, it's like, why lose if we have a roster that we believe in, that we think we can win in? Like, why not do it? And that's what they're doing right now. It's a really young team. I think the youngest team in the league still, and they're in the playoffs. It's crazy. They still have tons of picks. They still have Chet Holmgren. So even if they win this game and lose in the next play-in game, like, this is an exceptional season that can only go up from here as long as your dudes progress, as long as Chet Holmgren's fine. Like, Shai Gilgeous is probably going to be a potential NBA first team just because of his consistency, his stat line. He hasn't missed a ton of games. Like, yeah, I mean, this Thunder team is really good. I enjoy watching them. I'm glad living in this Oklahoma area. Like, we've had not great teams in the past, and being around this area, it's really good. Like, when there's a good team, like, the fans get behind it, and it's always just a good atmosphere.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the appeals to Oklahoma City. Like, it's a college atmosphere with that team where they don't necessarily put a lot of pressure on the team to, I guess, be contenders at this point, because the fans understand going through a lengthy rebuild, but guys like Shai, Chet, like you said, Dylan, at least gives them hope. And for them, that's like good enough. As long as they're seeing progress, they will show up for the games, they'll root, all that. And I appreciate that with the Thunder fans. It does make Oklahoma City seem like a scary team, not only next year, but the next few years going forward. I mean, of course, that's going to depend on Holmgren coming back, how he fits in with this group. But I mean, Giddey, Shai, Chet, that's not a bad foundation of 3 players right there. All young, all have diverse skill sets. I mean, I don't know. This could be a stepping stone for Oklahoma City to really great things next year. I actually want to add Lennon. What's going on, Lennon?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing all right. Yeah, so we're just talking about play-in game, the Thunder and Pelicans. Like, who do you have winning that one? Who do you think is going to be the important player in that matchup?
I honestly think the Thunder's going to win because of the improvement that SGA has produced on the court. I mean, if you look at his stats, he's gone from, I think it was about 24.5 points last year to almost 33 this year. I mean, he's proven himself to be one of the top guards in the league, while
Mhm.
being one of the only guards to average, I think it was a steal and a block a game. So I think utilizing him will be key. So I think the Thunder is going to win this.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys. I think the Thunder will win. I think a key part will also be it seems like Alvarado is going to be out for the Pelicans. I think that's going to be a big loss for them because we know how much pressure he puts on, guards like full court. He's like a one man press, and maybe he would have been somebody who might have given Shea a bit of an issue. Although Shea is such a great scorer, I don't know if it'd be that big of a deterrence, but him not playing definitely would be a big loss for the Pelicans. But I agree. I think the Thunder move on to face, I guess, the loser of this matchup. So who do we have? Lakers, Timberwolves. Same thing. Who do you think wins? What's the important factor? We'll start with Dylan on this one.
Man, I'm taking the Lakers. If the Timberwolves probably didn't have all that locker room issues and Rudy Gobert punching Kyle Anderson, I might have been a little different and probably picking the Timberwolves just because I think even still they might have a better overall roster. Like Karl Anthony Towns is still a great center. Anthony Edwards has been known to take over games. Especially when it comes to the play-in, it's like NBA championship time for the Timberwolves when they're in the play-in. So. But overall, I'm probably taking the Lakers in this game. They just seemed like a better team lately. They've been really good defensively. I just think this is a game where this Lakers team is, more solidified. They're more well put together right now than what the Timberwolves are. It might be a closer game than people expect. Watch out for Anthony Edwards. I think, this is a time for Anthony Edwards to step up, and he could have a really good performance against the Lakers. So you got to be weary of him. But overall, I'm probably taking the Lakers in this one.
Okay. I mean, is there any thought that maybe with pushing Gobert out of the equation, Minnesota actually plays better? Because if you saw the incident, it seemed like everybody jumped to Kyle Anderson's defense really quickly. So could it be addition by subtraction of having Gobert stay away?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So I think that's a fear for the Lakers fans. We know we have a lot of them on the network. I was surprised maybe Dr. Freddie didn't pop up once he started talking Lakers, but I do agree. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything like that. But I'll save my, I guess, pick for the end. Let's go with Jake. How do you see this game going?
So I think the Lakers are going to win, and I think we could. Sorry about that. I think we definitely could see the Timberwolves play a little bit better, but I worry with the Timberwolves. They're not a strong organization, and having drama can only cause distractions. It can cause turmoil. We saw that even with a good franchise like the Warriors, when Draymond punched Poole, it caused a lot of drama at the start. That's a good franchise. This is not a good, stable franchise. And I do think it's probably going to cause just a little bit of friction there. The Lakers should win this game. It's probably going to be a close game. I've never been a huge fan of this Timberwolves team. I'm grateful that they traded for Rudy Gobert because my Jazz got this massive haul. But it's not a team that you feel good about. And the only thing that could potentially scare the Lakers, I think, would be Anthony Edwards going Superman, turning into the player that we think he can be. I think he's going to be a true stud. He just might be a year away. I don't fear Karl Anthony Towns. He's a great player. You look at his box score, it's good. But when you watch him play in key moments, there's so many times where he has seemingly low basketball IQ, makes a lot of poor decisions, lots of really dumb offensive fouls, turnovers. We saw it last year in the playoffs where he can just disappear. And if your best player has low basketball IQ moments, can disappear like that, it doesn't instill much fear for a Lakers team that, although they're a 7th seed, they've been playing a lot better. They have a ton to play for. They're much smarter. They're much better organized. And I just think this is going to be the Lakers' time to shine. And the Timberwolves are probably going to, I think they're going to lose both games if I were to have a vote on that or make a pick.
Okay. What's going on, Daniel Berry? Appreciate you tuning in. So Lennon, are you going to complete the trifecta and pick the Lakers, or do you give the Timberwolves any chance in this matchup?
I'm gonna go with the trifecta. I'm gonna say the Lakers just because I feel like I looked at the injury report a little bit before we hopped on just to make sure my notes were correct. I know LeBron's probable with the right foot soreness, so I feel like they're going to utilize players like Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves in order to kind of to get the win. But I feel like I agree with what Jake says that I'm not afraid of Karl Anthony Towns either because I mean he is a top 15 player, but I mean it's just what he said, low IQ, and I think the Lakers are going to pull this out.
Okay.
Is he a top 15 player? Like I know it's kind of a sidetrack, but like,
Not
and we could
currently,
do this
probably.
another time. But I bet you I could name 15 players I'd rather
Oh,
have on my
yeah.
team.
I
than
wouldn't
Karl
say
Anthony
he's a
Towns.
top 15 player.
I think I said
but
that in a moment, but
Sure. No, I'm not trying to insult you, Lennon, or anything. Because it's a funny thing with anything. We're like, oh, he's a top 10 player, and then you're like, well, let's name the top 10 players. You're like, crap, there's like 15 top 10 players. So
Right.
you throw that number out, and it's like, well, where would you put Karl Anthony Towns? You know, I've always viewed him, and I'll let you get your take in real quick, Kyle. I've
Yeah.
always viewed Karl Anthony Towns as the typical good stat, bad team kind of dude, where he's
Yep.
great stats, not a true winner. And that's why I just don't have a ton of faith in the Timberwolves with him being their best player. Until Anthony Edwards takes the mantle, I don't trust the Timberwolves.
I mean, I probably could say that for another episode. Because there's a lot of guys who you said, Jake, kind of fall into that category where, you know, they put up good numbers. The team doesn't have a lot of success. You know, a lot of times the media will turn it into that guy needs to lead that city. But you kind of have to think, even if they go to another team, would they either put up the same numbers on a winning team or would it just be the same thing on another bad team? And I do agree, Karl Anthony Towns seems like that type of guy. I don't know if he impacts winning as much as he probably should with his skill set that he does have. Now, defensively, he is kind of a liability there. You know, that's probably where he should start with the improvement. But looking at this matchup, I'll give my prediction real quickly. I do see the Lakers winning it. I think what could help the Timberwolves in this one would be if Karl Anthony Towns gets hot from three. We know Anthony Davis doesn't necessarily guard out there a lot. And if you pull Davis away from the rim, you know, maybe it opens up lanes for Anthony Edwards getting to the rim. So Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to be important for the Timberwolves. And then on the other side, Anthony Davis has to dominate this matchup. And kind of what you said, Lennon, with LeBron, with the probable with his foot, maybe this is a game he kind of takes it easy. You dump it into, you know, AD, let him take like 20, 25 shots, you know, get Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble or whatever. But this is a matchup AD should definitely dominate. He should score probably 30 easily in this game.
I was going to say his last game, he did get about 38 points, 17 rebounds, something like that against Minnesota.
Right. And I think he has to do kind of the same thing in this one. And, you know, the subtraction of Gobert, I don't think that's a big deal because Gobert is another guy when it comes to the playoffs. I don't know if I fully believe in him either. And like I said, the way the team rallied around Kyle Anderson, maybe they're glad that Gobert's gone. I mean, it would be kind of interesting if they did win this game and Gobert came back. How would the team look then? But yeah, I got the Lakers in this one. I'm not gonna say they rolled the Timberwolves, but I could see a double-digit win for sure.
So that means the Pelicans and the Timberwolves are both going to win since we're all unanimous on this side of the bracket, right?
Right. And if that happens, I mean, we might have some serious problems. But then looking at it, so based off of ours, we would then have the Thunder face so we'd have the Lakers moving on as the 7th seed to face the Grizzlies. And then we would have the Timberwolves face the Thunder for the 8th seed. So if we get to that aspect, I'm assuming we'd all probably pick the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm picking the Thunder.
I take the Thunder. And
Rudy Gobert will probably be back that game.
He will.
Depending on how well they play that game, how well they play against the Lakers will probably decide that as well. But I mean, yeah, I'm taking the Thunder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if they win that game, why not? Like I said, you win that game, why not win it all?
Yeah, but Oklahoma City just be playing with house money, and when you're playing free like that, you're so much more energetic. Whereas the Timberwolves, they traded all these assets to get Rudy Gobert to think they could be contenders, and then there's just so much extra pressure there. They'd get tight. There's already in-house fighting. I just don't see it going well. Again, the only way the Timberwolves would win is with Anthony Edwards just going superhuman and dropping like 45 on Oklahoma City.
Yeah. With that game being in Minnesota, I'm assuming, well, since you all play the Thunder, doesn't scare you at all with a young team like the Thunder going on the road in a playoff atmosphere.
Because like I don't think this Minnesota team has the same juice as like last year's Minnesota team, you know. They didn't really have like a Pat Bev on that team to juice them up and make them go crazy and everything like that. They didn't have any like energy. Like all their energy is Anthony Edwards. Like I'm sorry, but Rudy Gobert sucks the energy away from like the stadiums and stuff like that. I don't know. It doesn't seem like anyone there is super energetic unless Karl Anthony Towns is having a good game, and then Karl Anthony Towns is like super energetic and fun to watch. But if he's not and he's playing
too
bad,
quiet.
he doesn't care. Yeah,
he's too quiet. Mike Conley's too quiet, and I love Mike Conley. He's been playing really good. Rudy Gobert, look, when he was with the Utah Jazz, he was a rallying point for their defense, and the team would rally to that, and the fans would. With this team, they don't seem to like him. The team doesn't seem to like him, so there's no rallying point. This is not going to be a crazy atmosphere because this Minnesota team just doesn't have people to root for until Anthony Edwards makes that next step. And he's probably a year or two away from being his true self, which is an all-NBA caliber player.
All right. All right, so then before we go to the West first round, let's look at the East playing now. So we'll start with the Raptors and the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls, the fact that they made the 10th seed, I did not see that. I was one who, I still believe they should blow it up, but I expected them to fall out and, be a lottery team, which I guess they still could if they lose to the Raptors. But this matchup's interesting because the Raptors, we know they're basically Fred VanVleet and a bunch of like 6'6" to 6'9" guys just running around.
Bunch of wings. Yep.
Hey, Pascal's pretty good.
The way that they built their team.
They have good players. It's just they're all the same position.
Yeah, they all look exactly the same. I don't know how they managed to build their team this way. I mean, it's good enough to get them the 9 seed. So probably
definitely a disappointment for the Raptors to be a 9 seed heading into the year.
Exactly. So looking at that matchup, who do you guys have? Start with Lennon. Who do you have? The Raptors or the Bulls, and who's the important player in this matchup?
I have Toronto coming out with the win, and I think Pascal Siakam is going to be a key player to look out for. I feel like, especially with what you guys said, them having such big players, and then Fred VanVleet being only like, I think what was a 6'6" or under starting player. Yeah. I feel like they can out rebound Chicago and pretty much control the game from there. So I think it's just crashing the boards and just making sure you get all the offensive rebounds.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I just have to see how this game plays out because, I don't know, the matchup just seems odd to me. But we'll go with Dylan next. Who do you have winning important player?
I actually have Chicago winning this one. I feel like Chicago was a team that was supposed to have some bigger aspirations, and they didn't. This is a team that is still led by DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, who are two really good players, who are players that can be known to take over games sometimes. Well, I would say more DeMar DeRozan than Zach LaVine lately, but this is a well-built roster. I just think this team, if they can have a good night, I feel like if you compare each other's roster, Chicago's is a little bit better, maybe not on the bench depth-wise, or at least when it comes to length, but overall they do have the better players, and I feel like Chicago is going to be a little more hungry. It's going to be an away game for them, so it's going to be really tough. That's why I can see Toronto taking it. But, man, I got Chicago in this one. I expect DeMar DeRozan to have a good game.
Okay. So, Jake, we now have one for Toronto, one for Chicago. Where are you on this one?
So I've been trying to figure this out because I've always been a big fan of Toronto. I love their coach. He's really smart. He does a great job. I think he's one of the top 5 coaches in the league. Again, I say top 5, and I could probably name 8 top 5 coaches. But the Toronto Raptors to me have just been a disappointment from what I thought they would be. That felt like there are moments where they should have blown it up and made trades, but they just kind of stood pat. I'm picking Chicago. I don't feel great about this one. I wouldn't be putting money on this, but I think this is a moment where DeMar DeRozan would just show and be like, hey, I'm the dude. I'm the veteran. I've been in playoffs before. He probably has a bit of a chip on his shoulder to go into Toronto, to his old stomping ground, and win a game there. The only thing is, I don't love either team, and Toronto's going to have a big playoff home court advantage. But I just see that Toronto's season of being a disappointment coming to full fruition, and losing and going home early.
I actually agree with you, Dylan and Jake, on this one. I think Chicago finds a way. I was going to say I think DeRozan will have a big game in this one. Now, the person I guess who'll be tasked with slowing him down would probably be Scotty Barnes, I believe. And Scotty Barnes does have length, so that could pose a problem, but we know DeRozan is that he's a mid-range killer, and I think he's going to have a really good game. Like I said, Toronto's had a disappointing season. There's already talk about, Nick Nurse might be stepping away or fired or something like that. I feel like there's going to be a lot of change coming with this Toronto group in the offseason. Because like I said, all these 6'6" guys and over, they got to start trimming some of that down. And yeah, I think this just gets the process going sooner. So I got Chicago in this one, and I think DeRozan has I wouldn't say a monster game, but I could see him dropping like a 28, Levine chipping in with like 20. And yeah, I'm not a big Toronto Raptors fan either, but maybe that's seeping into my prediction, but I got Toronto in this one. All right, so then looking at that, Toronto would move on to face loser of Heat and Hawks. I mean, Dylan, we kind of figured where you're going with this one. But but we'll start with Jake. So looking at this matchup, how do you see it playing out?
This is one that's tough because I think the Hawks are the better team. When you compare teams side by side, they're a team that I feel like I would want to pick. Trae Young is a guy that I think could just take over. We've seen him have big monster games before. He's capable of lighting it up. I just think there's a lot of uneasiness right now with Atlanta. The fact that a report came out either yesterday or today about how Trae Young could potentially be traded this offseason, that's very unsettling and could cause tension where they've already had a coaching change. Quinn Snyder's a very intense coach. It feels like there's still a little bit of a struggle there. I think the Heat win this game, and I think Jimmy Butler is the dude that's just like, F you guys for thinking you're gonna count us out. We're the Heat. We're gonna do things the Miami way that you hear over and over, Heat culture over and over and over again. I think the Heat are gonna win this game. I think it's going to be a very ugly game. It's going to be very physical, very tough. And I think they're going to force Trae Young to jack up a lot of contested shots and hope that he plays hero ball and has a bad shooting night. But I think Jimmy Butler is going to get his buckets and have some big moments, and they're going to pull away with the win.
Okay. So you're going with the Heat. I mean, Dylan, we know you're going with the Hawks. Well, I'll give you the floor. Make your plea for why the Hawks will win this one.
So it's really tough since like the Heat are literally the Hawks like kryptonite. They just play really hard and aggressive towards the Hawks. Trae Young is statistically wise the worst team he plays against is the Heat. This is really tough, but you got to look on DeJounte Murray this game is what I'm really hoping for, and DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter has to play big. He's going to be covered probably, I would say, maybe by Jimmy Butler. I'm not sure what they're going to really be doing this game. The Heat aren't really super great defensively when it comes to like their guards, which are really helpful outside of Kyle Lowry, but Kyle Lowry's been hit or miss this season. Just really need big games. If Trae Young is going to be their point of attack, it's really what they do is attack Trae Young, attack Trae Young, attack Trae Young is their motto. And so I'm going to need DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, even Clint Capella. All those guys are going to need to have big games this game. Even like people off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic is known to being able to take over. Just need big performances on someone that isn't Trae Young, because it seems like the Heat's normal point of attack is to attack Trae Young, because before that usually has been the Hawks' identities. Like, he's going to be the dude that does it all. Now you have another guard in DeJounte Murray who can score, who can take over, who can get you the same stat line that Trae Young can, and you don't have to focus solely on Trae Young. So just spread the ball out. Don't look as Trae Young to be that dude tonight. If he can get you 10 and 10, that's probably good. You have other players that can score. You have John Collins who can score. You have, like I said, DeAndre Hunter. You have DeJounte Murray, Clint Capella. You have to look on those guys to try to be your main offense rather than it be Trae Young, because we know in times past that's what they're going to try to stop.
All right, so we have one for the Heat, one for the Hawks. Lennon, got to break the tie here before I go, but do you have the Hawks winning or the Heat?
I have the Hawks winning. I know a lot of focus is going to be on Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, but I feel like utilizing the bench and their three-point shot is also going to be key, because if you look at their stat line, there's like 3 players above 40% for three-point shooting. Frank Kaminsky, Aaron Holiday, and Bogdanovic. I know I said his name wrong. I do apologize. But I feel like utilizing them along with DeJounte Murray is going to be key for Atlanta to win, but also making the Miami Heat taking some more outside shots. And I feel like making more mistakes is going to also be key.
Okay. All right, so 2 for the Hawks, 1 for the Heat. So where I get torn in this matchup is I've seen the Heat go up against teams that they probably should beat, and then for some reason they just don't turn it on. Now, I'm assuming with the play-in tournament that's not going to happen. So because of that, I think I got to go with playoff Jimmy in the Heat. I do think if the Hawks do want to win this, I think Lennon was on the right path with utilizing some of these other guys. Because we know the Hawks are going to try to run like pick and roll with Trae Young on the ball. The Heat are going to blitz him because they have a lot of length and all that. And Trae kind of gets backed into a corner, like backed up against like the halfway line. And then he's just trying to find guys open. I think if he plays off the ball, they put the ball in Murray's hand, they have a better shot at it. So I think for Hawks fans, you'll probably see maybe Quinn Snyder's system the best in this game, because he's gonna have to coach really well against Spoelstra, who we know is maybe an underrated coach, but is a really good playoff coach. And yeah, I think I'll stick with the Heat. I'm not too sure about it, because I could easily see the Hawks winning this one and the Heat, playing out of their mind in the next matchup to get the Bucks. But I think the Heat would rather go against the Celtics, because we saw that matchup last year, and it was a Butler 3-pointer away from the Heat moving on, as opposed to the Celtics. And I think they want round 2 of that. So I'm going to go with the Heat in this one, moving on.
Our friendship's over, Kyle.
I mean, I live in Atlanta, so I would like to see the Hawks, do something. I mean, I have to say that, but no. But Jake, I do think it's interesting, the whole Trae Young aspect. So I'm going to ask this really quickly, give yes or no. Would it be smart for the Hawks to trade Trae Young? Start with you, Jake.
It depends how this playoff series goes. I think the problem with this is that Atlanta, like Trae Young owns Atlanta. Like, he's the big marquee guy there.
Yes.
The Falcons haven't been doing very well. The Braves are doing good, but baseball's not nearly on the same level as football and NBA. He's their big marquee attraction. They really haven't had a guy in Atlanta that's been able to take everybody's attention since
somewhere.
Yeah, I heard it echo. Sorry, it distracted me.
Hold on, let me see if I can see that.
What's the name of the Hawks guy from the 90s? His name just slipped my mind. He played shooting guard. Yeah, Dominic. God, I feel like an idiot. They haven't had a guy on the basketball team that's been a big star, a big draw since Dominic. Like, so it's really hard to risk trading that. But if he is going to cause drama and cancer to the team, and I don't think he's a cancer to the team, but if he's so hard to coach, there could be some benefit to that. If you can get a good draw for him, sure, but I would rather risk trying to find players that complement Trae Young as opposed to trading him and being the Atlanta that we've seen for so many years, where they've just been this middling team without a marquee player and not really being able to succeed and make a serious run. Because even that year, I think it was like 2015, they had the number 1 seed. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Nobody was looking at that team like a serious contender. I just think you have to hold on to him unless you get a Rudy Gobert type of deal back where you get all this draft capital and good players back. So I would hold on to him.
More than a Rudy Gobert deal.
Rudy Gobert broke the market. Yeah. I'm just gonna say that he completely broke the market.
I don't even know what you offer in trades anymore after Gobert got all that.
You know what? I'm gonna take it because we got a freaking steal. But no, unless you get blown away, I would much rather gamble with a team, finding a team that works with him, and maybe you can have Quinn Snyder and Trae Young work this offseason to really get a good system together, because you don't want to be stuck in no man's land, and you have a star that people want to go see and watch, and that's hard to find in the NBA.
Okay. All right. So Anthony put up here really quickly. Big question is what team Trae Young would fit good on. That is a very good question. I mean, if Atlanta's looking to move him, like who do you call? I mean, there's plenty of teams out there that have good young talent. Take Oklahoma City. We just talked about them. They have great young talent. I don't see Oklahoma City being interested in Trae Young unless you're getting Shea back.
Send him back to Oklahoma. I mean, I got my OU blanket right here.
Well, I mean, like the only way that works is you'd have to get Shea in return, and Oklahoma City would never.
No, they're not doing that.
Yeah, so I don't know where you send Trae.
I think wherever you send him, he has to be the focal point for the team. I still think Trae Young, for just his personality, his play style, he's the number one. You know, this question I didn't have time to research it. My gut would say maybe like San Antonio, a team that doesn't really have a bunch of stars, and it's a smaller market, a really good, strong front office that can build and develop players that could fit around him. I could see him being successful there, but would San Antonio want a guy like that? Anthony said the Rockets.
Rockets are interesting.
That could be interesting. That makes me think I have to go and actually look at the roster and what the trade would have to look at. But I could see Houston is a team that likes guys that are ball dominant. They had James Harden. They love with them. I could see Houston working. That's actually, I'm gonna have to start doing some digging into what they'd have to give up. That could work though. I could see that happening.
It'd probably have to be a package with something around with Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr. would have to be one of the pieces. Bunch of picks, Tari Eason, stuff like that. Josh Christopher.
So would you want that, Dylan? Is that something you would want to see?
Well, I mean, okay. So looking at this now, Anthony bring up the Rockets was a great pull because I feel like some people looking at the Rockets with all their young talent doesn't really seem to be getting better. That maybe they're in a situation where maybe you have to move a couple of those guys out, bring in an established guy like Trae Young, and then maybe you can move on with the new coach because Steven Silas isn't coming back. For Atlanta, I just heard it. Okay. So for Atlanta, if you look at Quince, hold on, I got the echo again. I think it's you, Lennon. Let me see.
Is it me?
Hold on, I'll mute you and let me see. Yeah, I think it is you, Lennon. I don't know what's causing it, but I'll unmute you when I switch it to you. But for Atlanta, if you look at it, if this is something where Quinn Snyder's come in, he's had a couple of weeks to evaluate the team, and if he thinks he could do more with Murray leading this team than Trae Young, I mean, if you're invested in Quinn Snyder, you kind of would probably have to pull the trigger on that. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see like what teams are out there. I mean, Anthony Price also added cut Harden and trade him to Philly. I mean, could you see Trae Young with Joel Embiid?
No,
I don't.
This
I don't.
Philly
I
wouldn't
don't.
want
I
him.
think you run into the same issue where Embiid's going to want the ball, Trae's going to want it, so Trae's going to have to play off of Embiid. And I don't think
And that
Trae
pick
Young-
and roll though, that pick and roll game would be crazy.
It would be crazy, but I think Philly likes this version that they have of Harden, where he's doing he's really being more of a point guard and assisting and distributing, and letting Embiid be the primary guy.
Yeah.
I think that's Harden's a perfect fit in Philly. I don't think they would want to do that just yet. But
What about the Pelicans?
That's another squad with a lot of young pieces.
I could see that.
Zion
I could see
Williamson,
that.
Trae Young.
They're uncertain with Zion. They want to still stay relevant. They have a ton of draft picks. You could send maybe Brandon Ingram, although he's a really good player. That could be
Trey
fun.
Murphy.
There's a lot of good players, a lot of good defensive players to help make up for that. I could see that working pretty well. So there is a market for Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like there is a market.
Yeah,
You
we
just
can make
have
up some trades.
We can make up some trades. That's always the best part of the offseason is like
Mhm.
the trade machine and just being ridiculous with that. But if Dylan's not wanting to trade Trae Young, I think he's got a very good take on his team. I think we should say that the Atlanta Hawks probably aren't going to, unless it's some deal that just is too good to be true, like Minnesota offered for Rudy Gobert. You can't pass that type of trade up.
Yeah, unless Trae Young comes out and is like, I do not want to be here anymore. I don't think they'll trade him. I think they'll field offers. They'll listen. They'll see what market could be out there for him. And if they get a deal that blows them away, that might be something they do. But I don't think overall they'll trade him. They have a lot of value in Trae Young, and they have a lot of stock in Trae Young. Like Jake said, he's the focal point there. When you think of the Atlanta Hawks right now, you think of Trae Young as that guy there. So I don't think they'll move him unless they get anything exceptional. This is the first year with the DeJounte Murray, Trae Young combo. You got Quinn Snyder, who's going to have a whole off season with him. Let that work out. Let them see what they can do. Let them see if John Collins maybe might get traded again. Who knows? But let's see what we can do with the off season and just overall
if I'm running
full year of coaching.
If I'm running Atlanta, I want, and this I'm saying this as somebody who saw Quinn Snyder turn the Jazz around for the 6 years he was there. I want Quinn Snyder in a full off season with DeJounte Murray and with Trae Young. I want to see what we can build with that team and what we could turn it into, because they were successful with Donovan Mitchell, who is also a high volume scorer. He and they made it work. So I want that to be a full off season before I go about trading a cornerstone that is easily the best player the Hawks have had again since Wilkins, as far as popularity, since Dominic Wilkins. And that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
and I will say this for Atlanta. The whole John Collins thing, I'm not ready for this next year where we're going to get the whole John Collins is going to get moved and then ultimately he doesn't. If I hear him coming up in trade rumors, next year's it. It better happen next year. If not, then he's a Hawk for life at that point.
I feel bad for the dude, legitimately. I feel bad for him. That has to be hard. Just every year, you're basically.
Yes, yeah, your numbers are going down for whatever reason. Maybe the whole trade rumor part of it, but yeah, it's just rough every year. John Collins, you could set it like clockwork. Around Christmas or something, John Collins' name starts popping up in trade rumors. Was it the third year now? And yeah, pull the trigger on that. If you're going to keep Trae Young, move John Collins. Clearly, those two aren't working together. Do something there. Lennon, do you think Atlanta moves Trae Young? You think it would be the right thing to do?
I honestly feel like it would be a good move to trade Trae Young, and I've been thinking about it, and I think Washington would be a good move for them, pairing up Bradley Beal and Trae Young, because it's not. I would say it's sort of similar to when you had John Wall and Bradley Beal, but I feel like it would give Beal more of a chance to increases efficiency, increases scoring, while also being able to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis' contract and seeing if you could send him over with a first round draft pick for Trae Young.
I'd be so upset trading. I'd be so upset if we traded Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis was the piece we got.
Yeah, like in theory that could work. It's just I don't think Washington has the assets that would appease Atlanta, and even if they trade, like, I don't think Atlanta would even want Bradley Beal because that contract is terrible. It's a 5-year, $250 million deal, and he is not a max player.
Yeah.
He's just not. He got lucky for that 1 year. I think he made a third team, and it worked out. And could it be fun? Would it be good for Washington? Absolutely. Washington needs something to be relevant again, but Atlanta would, like Dylan said, Atlanta would just be like Happy Gilmore, just like, haha. Just, there's no way that's working.
Right. Well, I will say, I'll give Lennon credit for this. If you were to pair somebody like Trae Young with somebody, I think Bradley Beal would work because it seems like Beal, for the status that he does have around the league, whether he deserves it or not, he seems like a guy who could play off ball with a guy like Trae Young. And I think that would probably benefit Trae Young. And it probably would benefit Bradley Beal. He'd get open, corner threes. He'd get lanes to the hoop off of kickouts. So that would work.
Yep,
but I mean, I agree with you, Jake. I just don't see how Washington puts together a package that would entice Atlanta enough to make that deal. Yeah, it'd have to be centered around Porzingis, but you'd have to add a lot more to that for Atlanta to be interested because Porzingis is a guy who's now bouncing around the league apparently because it seems like every stop he goes to, the team doesn't really get better with him. Availability has been issues with him certain seasons. So I don't know, but that was a good question by Anthony Price. If they were to move him, I don't know if there's a lot of places he could go. I mean, if Jordan were on here, he'd probably say, come to the Lakers, which sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, you trading with AD, trading the
the
golden child Austin again. Rivers. Like, I mean,
they trade D'Lo again.
Oh. I mean, yeah,
hey, man, you're still not it. We thought you might be good in LA again, but I'm just not cutting it.
Right.
Good with Atlanta.
All right.
I like D'Angelo Russell a lot, so I guess I wouldn't be totally upset because I would get a player who I like personally, but value-wise, I'd be upset.
Right. All right. So looking at where we are, so we had. We were
split. So yeah, everyone just need to make their own predictions based off of the lineup. So for me, the next plan would be like Chicago. No, it'd be Toronto and.
No, it'd be Chicago.
No, it'd be Chicago. Yeah, I got mixed up.
It'd be Chicago.
It'd be Chicago and Atlanta was how I would have it. If I'm picking, I'll just go real quick. I think Atlanta would win that series. Yeah, Atlanta wins that series. I think Chicago. Oh, geez. I think my connection's bad here. I would just, Chicago, they were supposed to be better than they were. I think they should have blown it up, but they haven't. That's as far as they're going to go. Atlanta would take over. They'd win. It wouldn't be a very close game. They're the better team. They're going to be better well coached. Not much to say there. Trae Young probably has his big moment and goes off for like 35, and Chicago just can't really keep up. So Atlanta would, if I'm picking here, Atlanta would win that series or that game rather.
I'd have the same matchup. I agree. I think Atlanta would take care of Chicago. So I'd have Atlanta at 8, and who'd be our 7?
Miami would be
Miami. Yeah, yep. Miami 7. So it basically fall in where it is now, 7 and 8.
Mine would
so
be,
Dylan, your matchup would be Toronto, Atlanta. No,
it would be Miami, Buffalo, Miami, Chicago. I say Buffalo.
Yeah,
Bills, Bulls.
It's all right. So how would you have it playing out then?
I would probably take Miami in that game. I think, losing to Atlanta at home, if that were to happen, by the way, Hawks are up 9 right now. But, if they were to lose at home, especially in a play-in game, they'd be really hungry. They would get another home game again, which would be a plus. man, I don't think that Bulls team would be able to make it far. But seeing DeMar DeRozan versus Kyle Lowry in a playoff-ish type game would be kind of cool. Too bad DeMar DeRozan had to take out the Raptors to do that, but
Right. Okay. So Lennon, I'm trying to remember what your matchup was. Did you think you had the same thing as Dylan, I believe?
Yep.
Yeah. So how do you have it playing out?
Wait, no, he had Toronto winning, so he had it'd be Toronto Miami for him.
Toronto, Miami.
Yeah.
He had Toronto winning that game.
I would say I would have Toronto moving on.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah.
It's interesting.
Sorry.
So Lennon would have no Miami, which, I mean, I don't know anybody who would have that. Yeah. As a Celtics fan, I wouldn't be mad.
I'd be a fan of it. I don't like this Miami team because they just keep winning games they shouldn't win and losing games they should win, and they're just on paper they just don't look like a team that you should have a lot of faith in. But yet they're here. They won't go away.
Yeah, all right, so now that we've gone, if you're Miami,
yeah, Miami shouldn't be in this position. I mean, I think most people probably thought Brooklyn would have fallen out, but give Brooklyn a lot of credit. They stay in the top 6, which we'll look at right now. The playoff matchups as we would have them in some way, shape, or form. We would have the Nuggets versus the Thunder and Grizzlies, Lakers. That'd be our West that we'd fill in. So looking at these matchups, I mean, we don't have to go through all of them necessarily, but who could you see being on upset alert for the West for the first round? Start with Dylan.
Man, a lot of people are going to be talking about the Kings. They're going to be the least playoff experienced team out of everybody here. Maybe some of these teams don't have experience as a group. Like, for example, the Suns, the Clippers are going to probably be without Paul George for a little bit. The Grizzlies are having their own issues. You imagine if the Timberwolves are in it, they're having their own issues. The Nuggets haven't had Jokic as of late, so they're kind of having a little bit of issues. All these teams are, having little bits of issues, but, they stay together as a core. They're playoff experienced teams. The Kings, were kind of the dark horse. We expected them to be like a play-in team. You could get that 6th seed spot and shock some people, not a 3rd seed. I think DraftKings said like the Kings were like the most picked upset team, to lose in their series. So I think that goes without saying that people think, going up against the Warriors, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, that full core that won a ring last year is going to be really tough for them. But screw them. I'm picking the Kings actually in that series, but I think the Warriors definitely will be the team to be on upset alert.
Okay. So for you, Dylan, would you take each of the higher seeds in these first round matchups? So Nuggets, Suns, Kings, Grizzlies?
No, I think the Lakers would upset the Grizzlies in round 1. I do have that as a big upset.
Yep.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'll go in real quick here. Like I said, we had this question a couple of weeks ago where it's what first round matchup do you want to see the most? I picked Kings and Warriors. For everything Dylan said, it's going to be everyone's going to be underrating the Kings. Oh, so much playoff experience for one team, so much little for the other. I think the Kings are going to take care of business. I don't trust the Warriors. They can't win on the road. Has Andrew Wiggins come back yet? I haven't been following the Warriors. He's back.
Yeah, he's back.
That does help the Warriors out. I think the Kings are still going to win. De'Aaron Fox has been unbelievably clutch, like surprisingly considering what he's been up to this point in his career. If I'm looking at this, like the 4-5, you don't really consider either of those a matchup, but it is really interesting. The 4-5, whoever loses that series is going to be viewed as a disappointment for their season. Yeah. Like the Clippers, ever since they got Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they've been this huge super team, and they've made one conference finals. That's a disappointment. The Suns, you get Kevin Durant, and you lose in the first round. If they were to lose, that's a huge disappointment. So that's going to be an interesting series. But if there's one team that's on upset alert, the way that we have the bracket out, it would be the Grizzlies over the Lakers. the Lakers, they're playing much better than a typical 7 seed. I think if with LeBron James, if he comes back and they use him wisely, where they use him, and LeBron James knows how to use what's left in his tank in spurts and dominate. And the Grizzlies haven't been playing as great as they have been earlier in the year. I would take the Lakers as the upset pick, because I think the Kings are going to beat the Warriors in like 6 games or so.
Okay. All right. So Lennon, who do you have on upset alert?
I actually have Denver on upset alert. I feel like OKC can get a little surprises in on Denver, shut down Jokic, and pretty much all the shooting will just fall apart from there.
Interesting.
That would be nuts. That would be. Imagine if that happened and Jokic wins the MVP, and we're going to look back all these years later and be like, man, Jokic is one of the few guys that's a 3-time MVP. And all those years he didn't even make it. I think he made it out of the first round once. Like that would be huge. People would look back on years later and be like, oh man, did we vote for the wrong guy 3 years in a row? Because that's the correction that would be made.
Absolutely.
I don't see it happening, just because I think that's a big task for Oklahoma City to do. But I mean, I wouldn't be terribly surprised. The West has been so topsy-turvy this year. I nothing would surprise me, but that'd be juicy.
Yeah. If that were to happen, like Shea would be on some kind of heater. If he
he'd be putting up 35 or 40.
I mean, that whole
he gets from the 10 seed into the playoffs and takes out the number 1 seed. Like,
I don't think we mentioned Jalen Williams enough either. That dude's been going on a tear as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Lou Dort.
Okay. I mean, if you think about it, the Thunder probably have the pieces to pull it off. It would just be hard to see it happening with it being their first experience. But maybe with the Nuggets, as a team that doesn't have a lot of experience going deep into the playoffs, maybe that's the best team for them to face. And I mean, I give Lennon credit. That's a bold prediction.
That's a bold pick.
Very bold.
And Jamal Murray hasn't been great either recently. He hasn't been exactly lighting it up to make you. And the Nuggets did have. I mean, in March they didn't play very well as a team, so it's not as far. I guess there's just a shock value of a 1 seed losing. But the more I think about it, it's like that may not be the biggest surprise. The more I think about it.
I mean, if that happens, it will send the West playoffs. I mean, it set it up in a way that, teams like the Suns or Warriors or Kings would be like, number 1 seed's gone. Like, this could be our year to sneak into a finals appearance.
Yep.
So for me, I think the team on upset alert, I guess, would be like, I think the Nuggets beat the Thunder. I think the Thunder would probably give them a tougher series than they expect. I probably have more faith in the Suns than the Clippers right now. Although the Clippers were fully healthy, I think they have the pieces to give the Suns a lot of problems. I mean, I feel like Kings Warriors is too obvious. Like, I've appreciated what the Kings have done this year. I just cannot count out the championship medal that the Warriors have. I just feel like in that series, the games might be like 135, 130. It'd be crazy entertaining to watch, but I mean, you give me, Curry, Clay, Draymond, Gary Payne, who has a lot of experience from last year's playoff run. Like, you give me guys like that against the Kings team where I don't know what I'll get in a playoff atmosphere. Game 1 might be the most important game in that series. If the Warriors somehow go to Sacramento, win Game 1, I could see Sacramento, with like a gut punch and not really recovering from it. But if Sacramento could win Game 1, they would have their feet under them in the playoffs. Then I could see them winning it. But I'll take the Warriors in that one. I think the Grizzlies beat the Lakers. I think it'd be probably like a 7-game series. I could see, Dylan Brooks getting into it with LeBron or something. He and AD doing something. But I think Jaren Jackson would be, the most important guy in that series because of his ability to play around the rim and stretch the floor. So I think the Grizzlies win that. I'll take the Warriors over the Kings, even though I would love to see the Kings move on. For Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox, who I've always been a big fan of. But I'll take the Warriors. All right, so looking at the East, same thing. Half of us have, I guess, different 8 seeds. It's going to be either, I think, the Heat or the Hawks for most of us. And 7, probably the same thing. But,
The Hawks,
you guys remember your picks. You kind of fill them in.
Unless you're I guess Lennon has the Raptors as his 8 seed, so I guess.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because Lennon has the Heat. Missed it. Lennon's coming with bold predictions. I give it to him. Thunder beating the Nuggets, Heat missing the playoffs. I respect it. So looking at the East, who would you see on upset alert? You can see multiple, teams on upset alert. Let's start with Jake.
So looking at this, so just for a refresher for the audience, my 8 seed was the Hawks. My 7 seed was the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to gamble, I'd say this would probably go to chalk. Like, I don't really see upsets here. I think the Celtics are clearly better than the Heat. It's going to be a very tough and physical series, but they should win in 6 games at the very most. The Nets are they're a 6 seed, but they're really not a 6 seed. They just had that with trading Kevin Durant and everything else. I don't see that happening. The Bucks are playing like the best team in the league. Kind of leaves you in the 4-5 matchup. I'd say if a team's on upset alert, it has to be Cleveland, but I would pick Cleveland to win. It's a series I really want to watch. I think the Knicks fans are going to be really upset when Donovan Mitchell, like game 4 or game
70.
6, drops 60 points in the Garden. Imagine if it's 3-2 heading into game 6 and Donovan just goes full Donovan like we saw he could do in the playoff bubble, drops 50 or 60, especially with a big, like, either buzzer beater win or statement big dunk or 3-pointer. Knicks fans would be losing their mind. It'd be great theater, great to watch. But I would have to say, if any team's on upset alert, it would be Cleveland. But I see this going mostly chalk for the first round.
Anthony coming with a bold prediction. He has Brooklyn upsetting Philly. That's gonna. I wouldn't want to be around Gene or Key if that were to happen. But
I have to agree with Jake on this part and say it's probably going to be chalk. Looking at like Philadelphia and Brooklyn, that'd be an interesting matchup. I do like what Brooklyn has. Cam Thomas, Miles Bridges, those guys have been killing it scoring wise. With the absence of Kyrie and Kevin Durant, like, those guys stepped up when they needed to step up. They're a 6 seed. We know the 76ers history in the playoffs. They're not always the greatest team when it comes to being in the playoffs. The atmosphere kind of shakes them a little bit, but also it's due to, playing very good teams. I think the only really slip up that they had was that Hawks series, and it is what it is on that one. Ben Simmons should have shot a layup. But, regardless of that, the 76ers do have a tougher time in the playoffs. So, this Nets team, like, maybe they want to shut up the haters, got a chip on their shoulder. And if they come out playing aggressive and, steal a game or two, maybe that could be interesting. But overall, I'd see it chalk. The Heat or the Hawks, upsetting their matchups. As much as I'd love to say my Hawks would win in 4, that would be really tough to do, or win in 7 would also be very tough to do. So it's really hard to see anything there. Agreeing with Jake, 4-5, Cleveland, New York is probably going to be the biggest chance of having an upset, and a 5 seed upsetting a 4 isn't really too big of an upset in my eyes. So overall, it's so much easier to predict upsets in the West because it's so just heavy all around in the West and the East. You kind of have your dominant teams, the teams that are up there. It's like, they probably should have been up there.
If Philly lost, would that change everyone's perception of Doc Rivers even more than it already has?
He would get fired.
Fired. Well, he has
so fast.
He has to get to the conference finals to keep his job. But I'm talking like on a historic level, people would be like, okay, he won that title in 2008, but did he really win it, or is he just there for it? I think that would be a big narrative that we would see, because outside of 2008 and 2010, his coaching has been really disappointing at every stop he's been in. Anyways, I'll let Lenny get to his thing. I just throw that curveball out there to kind of let people think about that are listening.
That's a good point. Yeah, Lennon. Who do you have? I mean, what's your bold prediction, Lennon? I'm ready for it.
There's actually no bold prediction. I feel like I agree with both Jake and Dylan. I feel like it's going to be just mostly chalk, and I'm looking forward to that 76ers Nets matchup, but I really don't see any upsets.
Okay. All right. I actually don't either. I think it's chalk. But for Anthony, where he says Brooklyn upsets Philly, I could see that happening because I do think, Brooklyn didn't get big names back for Kevin Durant and Kyrie and all that, but I feel like they just got a bunch of good players. So going into that,
okay.
Sorry,
now that you say that, it's like when you look at the players they got, it's like they got like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, the two glue guys on that Suns roster. It was like when Cam Johnson was out, it's like they struggled. When Mikal Bridges was out, they struggled. And the Nets got both of those guys. And it turns out Cam Thomas, he was the leading NCAA scorer as a freshman when he played at LSU. Turns out he can score on the NBA level just fine. And it's like, yeah, like they're getting a bunch of glue guys who just go in there and play. Mikal Bridges, 83 games played this season. Like that's absolutely crazy. Definitely should get like a participant, like an attendance award or something like that. Who does that in the season? Who plays 83 games? But overall, seeing the Nets upset, I'm all for it, man. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Sixers myself, so I'm all for it. Give me some chaos.
No, this Nets team is constructed in a way where they're one dude away from being like a legitimate threat. Like they have all the dudes you want. And it's funny when you look at what kind of a superstar would fit in Brooklyn. I know this is a side route. I'm just throwing these out left and right. When I look at what Brooklyn would need, like Luka would be perfect with this team. And it's funny because they traded a bunch of dudes that are already there. But Luka with this Brooklyn team, man, that'd be so much better than what he's at in Dallas. Again, complete sidetrack, but yeah, Brooklyn has dudes. They have good guys. They just need one more guy that can be the true number one on a contending team, and then they're right back to being an elite team in the East.
Yeah, we saw that last year. Cleveland was Brooklyn last year. Cleveland went and got Donovan Mitchell, and you see them this year. Yep. So I think for Brooklyn, if they go against Philly, I can't remember who's Brooklyn's coach, Jacques Vaughn. I go in the locker room and I say, look, if Embiid drops 60, I don't care. I can't have Harden, drop 25. We can't have PJ Tucker hit a couple of threes. Can't have Tobias Harris go off. Stick with those guys. Let Embiid do what he does, because offensively we can get some stuff against this group. If that's how Brooklyn goes into that series, I could see them doing it. Because like Dylan said, yeah, it's not KD, it's not Kyrie, it's not Harden, whatever. But Brooklyn has 5-6 guys who could drop 25 easily in any game. And I think
great defensive pieces kind of too.
Yeah, and I think that's the way that they have to go about it. Sum of all the parts. They don't have that number one guy, but you don't necessarily need that if you have the contributing pieces consistently. That's going to be the thing with Brooklyn. All these guys have to be on their game each game. You can't really miss production from any guy at that point. Hold on. Anthony says, you paid PJ Tucker to do what? Anthony, I'm right there with you. I do not see the appeal of PJ Tucker. He's another one of those guys that I feel like has gotten a little bit overrated the past couple of years. He's supposed to be a 3-and-D guy. He rarely makes any threes, and his defense is more or less physicality at this point. But
he was paid to go in the playoffs is what he was there for. So we'll have to see if it pays off in this contract here. But with going back to Brooklyn, when you're building a roster, if I'm building a roster, I'll put it that way, if I'm the GM of a team, I'm looking for 8 guys, because that's really what your playoff roster is going to be, is like 8, maybe 9 guys. I'm looking for 8 guys that I can trust to have 20 minutes or more in a playoff series. And Brooklyn has 6 of those dudes. They have a lot of those guys. They just don't have the true number one. So to say that they're Cleveland of last year is very, very true. It'll be interesting to see if they make any changes. And if I'm Jacques Vaughn, I'm saying, guys, we're playing with house money. Nobody gives us any credit because we lost KD, we lost Kyrie. Let's go up there. Let's be physical and let's make Philadelphia get scared. Let's make Doc Rivers panic and see what happens from them because Philly and James Harden and Doc Rivers, they don't have great playoff success. It could happen. I don't see it happening, but it could. It'd be quite the upset and quite the story if that happened. And imagine if that happened and Denver also loses like Lennon predicted and are two, the closest MVP race we've ever seen, and both guys are out in the first round. What would that even mean for the MVP moving forward?
Exactly. That would be very interesting. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be back next week with more of these playoff matches because at that point, we would have gotten, I believe, game 1 in basically every matchup. So we'd probably have a good idea of, who's looking good, who might be in trouble. So we'll be back with the playoffs next week. Actually, remove this real quick. So this is something that Jake, you did bring up in our chat about postseason awards. I feel like we should definitely do it. I sat there. I did all the research I could, and I think came with some good stuff. I mean, Lennon and Dylan, were you able to do it as well?
Yeah, I looked up some research. It was really hard on like when I was looking up like the first teams and stuff like that. It's really hard to pick the two guards there, for example.
Right.
Different things like that. Defensive Player of the Year is also a very tight race. It's really kind of hard to pick who's going to be the winner in that position as well too. So, I mean, overall, you have like some pretty obvious winners like Rookie of the Year, probably Coach of the Year. I think my MVP is pretty obvious, but overall, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think before we get to the first, second, and third teams, we'll do the awards and then get to that. And like I said, can probably go through these kind of quickly, so make sure we have enough time for the mock draft. But let's start with MVP. That's the biggest award. It's the prize. Does anybody have anybody outside of Embiid or Jokic?
No.
Nope.
Okay. So who has Embiid?
I do.
3 people.
I actually have Embiid as well.
Oh,
okay.
man, clean sweep.
It's a clean sweep.
So that probably means Jokic gets it again, and then Sports Empire Network blows up because all the Philly fans would be like, Embiid got screwed again.
Yeah.
No, he deserves it. He's a leading scorer. Philly won more games than Denver did. They're in a tougher conference. He's a better defender.
Yep.
He led the league in scoring, and that's usually a pretty big indicator for winning the MVP. And I just think he deserved it.
Also,
Philly ended strong.
Embiid played poorly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Jokic didn't play later in the stretch. Embiid did. Embiid looked impressive later in the stretch as well. So recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to just clarify, because Kyle and I talked about this before the show started. Did any of you guys, when you did your awards, have a games requirement? And if so, what was that number? So for me, I chose 60 for my games played minimum. Simply, next season it's going to be 65. I just felt like the players didn't know about it, and if they had known, they may have wanted a game or two extra to get that threshold. So I just put 60 games. That's just under 75% of games played. What limits did you put for all of these awards?
I didn't really have a specific limit. I did favor some positions over some due to the games played, but I didn't really have a limit because I didn't want to implement it in this year's awards. Like you said, everyone didn't know about a limit. It wasn't a known thing yet, so I'm just gonna kind of it is what it is. But in picking, I did, if someone played like 40 games, for example, and another dude played 60, I would pick the dude with 60 over the dude with 40.
Okay, that's fair.
I implemented 65. I did it to myself for whatever reason, and that's probably why my first, second, and third teams may look different than y'all's, but we'll get there. Let's go Coach of the Year. This is another one that I feel like there's probably consensus on this one as well. Do you guys have Mike Brown as your coach?
Yep, I do.
Yep,
that is my coach of the year.
Okay,
I thought Sacramento was going to be a good team and be a 9th seed, 8th to 9th seed would be kind of their max. I did not see them being the 3 seed and holding it down. Like he has to win it. And I know a lot of people dislike him from his other coaching stints, but he totally deserved it this year.
All right. Well, we can trust Jazz. What's going on? I've been seeing you the morning show. Appreciate it. I mean, it's probably good that you tuned in at this point because you might not have liked some of the Nuggets talk before, but appreciate you being here. Well, I mean, Des, since you are a Nuggets fan, do you have Embiid or Jokic winning the MVP? The four of us have Embiid winning it, so you can let us know that as well. Yeah, so we got Mike Brown, Coach of the Year. I do want to shout out Mazzulla from Boston. The situation he was put in with the Udoka thing coming in, the team actually having a better record than last year, has to get some credit. I mean, Dez has Jokic, okay, that makes sense.
No surprise.
And I want to give, I know I'm going to butcher his name, the Oklahoma City coach. I don't even want to try to pronounce his name. I feel like he'll probably get some votes for Coach of the Year.
He should.
For what the Thunder have done. So I do think Mike Brown probably runs away with it, but want to shout out those two as well. I think this is the first award we'll probably be separate on. Sixth Man of the Year. Does anybody have anybody outside of Brogdon or Portis? No.
Nope.
Okay. Who has Brogdon?
I put Brogdon. Wow.
Oh,
all the
see,
same. Okay.
y'all got Brogdon.
Okay. All right.
But for me, it was between Brogdon and Quickly, were the two
Yeah, it
guys.
was Brogdon and Quickly
Okay.
for
Were
me
the
as
two
well.
guys I was looking, and it was really tough. It was all basically like a coin flip between the two, and I was just like, you know what, Brogdon I just feel like has better stats, better team. He should just get it. But it was very tight between those two. I love Bobby Portis. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Bobby Portis, but Brogdon might deserved it this year.
All right. Lennon, was it between Brogdon and Portis or Brogdon and Quickly for you?
I would say it was Brogdon pretty quickly. I feel like he's been consistent, averaging about 14 points a game, saying around a 40-point percentage for field goal and 3-point. So I feel like he's done a very good part to help the Milwaukee bench. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next we'll go Defensive Player of the Year. As Dylan said, this one, there's a couple of ways you could go with this one. So for you guys, did it come down to, was it Jaren Jackson Jr., Mobley, and Lopez?
Yep, those were the three dudes that came between. I saw Lennon shaking his head.
Yeah. So who'd you have, Lennon?
It was a coin flip, but I know I'm probably going to get a little bit of crap for this, but just because of his impact on the floor, I'm going to say Draymond.
Yeah, Draymond got a lot of hype as well too. I saw a lot of hype for Draymond.
Looking at their stats, with him off the floor, their defense is ranked about 14th. But with him on the floor, they are one of the top defenses in the league. So I feel like between him and Jaren Jackson, it was a bit of a coin flip, but I would give the edge to Draymond.
Okay. All right, so then Dylan and Jake, who did you have?
Go ahead,
Go
Dylan.
first, Jake. Oh, I'll go. I had Jaren Jackson. I feel like just looking around overall, it seemed like he was the big favorite. The Grizzlies were second in overall defense this year. Jaren Jackson had a pretty good season just overall in defense. It's really a coin flip. Like, if there's a three-sided coin, but I would say it was between Lopez, Draymond Green, and Jaren Jackson as the three picking it. And it just seemed like a very tight race. But overall, I would say it would be Jaren Jackson. I think he just has a slight edge over what the other guys do. But if Draymond won it, that wouldn't surprise me. If Brook Lopez won it, it wouldn't surprise me. This is not a race this year where it's kind of a definite thing where we have a good defensive player of the year like we do in years past, where it's kind of been, I wouldn't say obvious, but we definitely had a choice we would go with. And I think this year, whoever you pick out of those three candidates definitely deserve it. But I'm going to go Jaren Jackson on this one.
I picked Brook Lopez, and it was very tough between Brook Lopez and Triple J. Those were the two guys, and basically it came down to eye test, where I'd watch highlight reels and see which team looked better when they were off the court. And for me, Brook Lopez just looked a little bit better defensively than Triple J. But this was a very difficult decision. There were a lot of good candidates. I just think Brook Lopez has transformed. Everything that he's done, he's transformed as a player from where he was earlier in the decade. And I just think he's a huge part of what this team is doing. He gives them a big defensive identity, and he's just a core part for their team. And it's like 51-49 between Lopez and Triple J. It was super close, and I just went with my gut feeling on this one with Lopez.
All right. I actually have Brook Lopez as well. For a guy who came into the league as a low post offensive guy, he's turned himself into basically a 3-and-D guy, which fascinating turnaround, but I do have Lopez as the defensive player of the year. All right, let's go rookie of the year. I guess the question would be, do you have anybody outside of Banchero winning it?
Nope. He was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was great. Like I mentioned earlier, Jalen Williams should get his credit. Get a little bit of mention. He did have an exceptional year as well. He kind of took over this. I would say the second half, just by storm, and that Thunder team was really good. So he got a lot of credit due to that. But Paolo was just exceptional this year.
He was great. I want to give a little love to Walker Kessler, my guy from Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
He turned into a better player than Rudy Gobert and a cheaper contract when they traded for him. He's been fantastic. He's been great. Super surprised he came about this fast. Want to give him some love. I know a lot of people have him third in this race. Just want to give a shout out to him. But Paolo's the guy. You watch him and he has it. He's one of only a handful of people to put up the stats that he did in his rookie year, so he totally deserves it.
I also want to give, just say Chris Murray, was really good as well. He just didn't have the luck of having to play behind Domantas Sabonis and having some of his minutes taken by him. But even with that being the case, it didn't matter. He still played very well. He played very well in the summer league. He played very well early on for the Kings. And having him as a rookie for your first year too, and with a playoff team like you have right now, is a plus. They got him at a good time. He definitely fits that mold of that Kings team.
All right. Last award. Most improved player. I think this is one we may not have a consensus on.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. It was between two people, and that was between Shea and Lauri Markkanen.
Okay, I agree.
Is it anybody but those two for us four? Is there anybody else that was between? Okay.
No.
I want to go last on this one. I want to let everyone else go in there because I got a pretty good take on this.
All right. Lennon, who'd you have?
I have a SGA because I feel kind of like what I was talking about earlier, his improvement over the last couple of years. I just feel like he's an obvious choice for me because, I do agree, thinking about it, Lauri Markkanen is a good choice, but I would give the edge to SGA.
Okay. Dylan, do you agree? Or do you?
I do not. I actually have Lauri Markkanen as my most improved player this year. If you just look at it in terms of most improved player, looking at Lauri Markkanen's stats from this year's to last year, it's a way bigger jump than SGA, and that's not anything to go against SGA. It's just from everything from defense efficiency to true shooting to just passing the ball, assist ratio, just everything from Lauri Markkanen skyrocketed this year. And he was an all-star. It's crazy, shout out to SGA for being one as well, but no one expected this out of Lauri Markkanen. We kind of had an incline, a trajectory for SGA. He was slowly getting better, and we knew he was getting better. He just took a bigger jump than we expected. When Lauri Markkanen got traded to the Jazz, this is not what we were expecting at all by any means. This is not the Lauri Markkanen that we got in Chicago. So it's not the Lauri Markkanen that we got anywhere else in Cleveland, so. Yeah, it has to be Lauri Markkanen for me. This Jazz team seems like they love him. He's kind of that face of that frame. I wouldn't say he's the face, but he is slowly becoming that face and having Walker Kessler behind him. This Utah team
he's the face.
A fun team. He's the face.
We
got the Jazz fan. We got the Jazz fan.
Jazz fan is the face.
I actually agree with you, Dylan. I have Markkanen because of what you said. Markkanen was seen as a bust in Chicago. He gets to Utah this year, and now he's an all-star. SGA, also like you said, we saw this coming from him slowly elevating into a, star, superstar, wherever you have him. He was slowly getting there. Whereas Markkanen just did a 180 in his career. And that's like you said, also Dylan, that's not to take anything away from SGA. Love me some SGA, but I got to give most improved to Lauri Markkanen.
Cool.
All
So
right,
real
Jake.
quick, I'll go. And the funny thing I want to preface this with is that the most improved player is like the word that has like the least amount of definition actually
Yes.
with it. So it's always been really hard to define what it means. I picked Laurie Markkinen. I know a lot of people might be like, "Oh, the Jazz fans pick Markkinen," but I feel like he deserves it for the simple. And look, I don't want to take anything away from SGA because he's a fantastic player. He's probably, if you were to rank all the players, he's probably bare minimum a top 12 player, if not higher. So he's a fantastic player. But the thing is, everybody knew SGA was going to be the focal point for Oklahoma City. He was going to be this great player. Everyone's saying, "How did Oklahoma City get SGA out of the trade with the Paul George trade? Like, how did they get this top dude? He's so good. He's so great." Markkanen was a complete bust. He was a complete bust in Chicago and in Cleveland. And the best way I can describe that as a Jazz fan, when we traded Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland, we got a bunch of picks. We got Markkanen in the trade, and we also got Colin Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, as a Jazz fan, we're like, man, this trade is great. We got Laurie Markkanen. He's fantastic. But this summer, the player that we were excited for was Colin Sexton. He was the player all the Jazz fans were like, man, we got Sexton. Maybe it'll work better. It didn't quite fit in Cleveland. He had some injuries. This is going to be great for him to take off. Nobody was thinking twice about, oh, man, I can't believe we got Markkanen out of this trade. He comes out. He drastically improves from his career, saves his career. He's an NBA All-Star. He started the All-Star game, probably going to be on a lot of people's All-NBA team. He's completely turned his game around. He was flirting for a minute there with a 90-50-40 season. He's improved on defense. He's the heart and soul of a team that's very competitive. Again, not to take anything away from SGA. It's just that we knew he was going to be great. We all saw this. Nobody saw Laurie Markkanen being anything close to this. Everyone, I think the most optimistic Markkanen fan would say he'd probably be a guy that averaged 15 and 8 for the Utah Jazz, not what he's doing now. So Markkanen gets it. If SGA won it, I wouldn't be surprised simply because the fact that the most improved award is so undefined. But for me, if I had to vote, it'd be Markkanen.
Okay. I mean, that's a good point about it being undefined because, to be honest with you, I would have thought Jaylen Brown would have gotten most improved player one of these years.
Right.
Since he's been a guy who's had marketed improvement year after year, but he's kind of like never been in the conversation.
And we had Ja Morant win it a couple of years ago, and everybody knew Ja was going to be a superstar, but he still won it. So it's very undefined in that aspect. A little bit of chaos with that.
Yeah, personally, I would like the award not to go to a superstar or a big name player unless they had a first to second year leap, and they should get it, or a second to third year leap. I hate it going to big name superstars because it's like that's what we expect. Like giving it to someone like Laurie Markkanen, definitely it should go to the people who don't get enough credit.
Yeah, it feels like the award was invented to recognize somebody that kind of like saved their career more or less. That's like, man, this guy, I thought he was X, but he turned out to be Y. Whereas SGA just improves and improves and improves, but we kind of saw it after his first year in Oklahoma City.
We knew SGA had the potential to be an all-star, not Laurie Markkanen.
Nope. I don't think anybody had any stock in Laurie Markkanen. I think all that had been sold by the time he was traded to Utah.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So here is where I'm going to need your help with this. Should we do all NBA now to give ourselves
just do the first team? We'll just do a first team, and then we can
keep it quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have mine in the group chat, but I didn't write mine down.
Oh, good.
Okay. I guess I can pull it up then. All right. So we'll go quickly then. So I guess the way we'll do it is I'll just have one of you name your first or second team or whatever. And then if anybody has any objections, then name who it would be, and we'll just move from there.
Okay.
So I guess our first team, I'll have Dylan give us your first team.
So I'm trying to remember every position because I didn't have mine written down either, but I believe I had SGA as one of my first guards. I think Luka Doncic as the second one. That other guard spot is a toss-up. You could throw Curry, you could throw Damian Lillard in there. I think it was a big toss-up, but I think, Luka is definitely one of those guards that will flirt with averaging a triple-double every season. Maybe the Mavericks weren't great, and it's not really great seeing your top, guards in your first team being teams that could potentially not even make the playoffs. But with that being said, there wasn't any super big exceptional guard play from I would say at consistent spurts outside of like SGA, Luka and Damian Lillard. A lot of those other guards took time off. Curry had stints with injury. John Morant had time off for his personal issues. So it's not like we had consistent play. So those would be my two guards. One of my forwards would be Jason Tatum. My other center, my center would be Joel Embiid, and I don't remember who I had at that other 4 spot.
Was it Giannis?
Yeah, it was Giannis. There we go.
Okay.
I was trying to remember.
Okay, so the guards is the hard part.
Real quick.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I got the Cowboys taking it. Okay, he was joking there. I got the Lakers taking it, and I had Miami, but it looks like the trade rumors didn't slow down Trae Young. Okay.
No, he's good. He's having a great game right now. The Hawks are almost up 20 on the Heat right now.
Well, looks like that pick for mine was wrong.
Not halftime yet, but it's about to be half.
That's what the Heat are so frustrating, though.
Yep.
Maybe the Heat are trying to duck the Celtics.
That could be it. That could be it.
That's kind of dangerous if you want the Bucks instead, but okay. But yeah, Jake, so you have any objection to Dylan's first team?
No, I mean, I have different picks, but I don't have any. I can't argue with any of them. I feel like whoever you have as the MVP is going to be the center. So for us, we all have Embiid. The forward spots, I think, are you can't argue the forward spots. It has to be Giannis. It has to be Tatum. The guards is where everything gets really tough. I had John Morant as the first and SGA as the other guard. I wanted to put Luka in there. His stats are great. I can't put a guy who finished the 11th seed in a weak West as a first team. I really wanted to put Luka in there. I really like his game, but it's with the way that the team just tailspin out of control. I couldn't reward it. John Morant, he's had his issues, but he played. He cleared the 60-game mark for me. If I wasn't having any kind of a mark, I probably might have had Steph in this first team just because I feel like Steph's really carried this team and had a fantastic year, but he didn't play enough games. I think he played somewhere in the 50s. So I have Ja as my first, Ja and SGA as my guards, Tatum and Giannis as my forwards, and Embiid as my center.
Okay. So with me, with the 65-game limit, which is in effect next year, my first team was Shea, Luka, who barely got in with 66 games, Tatum, Embiid, Jokic. So,
I guess there's no position requirements.
I don't like having Embiid and Jokic. Like, one of those guys they can't have one be a forward and a center. When I do my balloting,
I guess there's no requirement, so I guess that's fair.
The only reason is that people say, well, it's unfair that Jokic or Embiid isn't a first team when they're the first or second best player. It's just how all NBA voting works. The best example I can give is I think it was 94. Shaq had a season where he put up 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks, which is an insane season. And he was third team All NBA because they had Hakeem and David Robinson. Like, sometimes it's just a matter of how the position goes. If I had the 65 game limit, I might have to bend that rule because a lot of players didn't play 65. You have to kind of stretch it. But it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm old school with, like, if you're a center, you should be the center. I just feel like people want to give both these dudes first team because they both deserve it, but it's not a fair setup.
Okay. Before we go to second team, one word answer for Juan's question. Percentage on Golden State repeating. I'll say 0.
Yeah, Crusade.
Y'all got no faith in them. I was gonna give them at least 10%.
For me, man, that's for me with the Warriors is they can't win on the road. They don't seem like they have the same juice as they did last year. And I feel like last year took a lot of energy for them to get there. It was a big moment where they could win without KD. And I think it's hard for them. It's hard for them to get back up for that. And I just don't think they're going to do it this year. Could it happen? I mean, anything can happen. But if I'm gambling, man, I'm not putting any payment in that.
Yeah. To be honest, I have the Kings making the Western Conference Finals to shock everybody. So, no.
No, I can see that. That's a good point.
Bo's mad at the Heat, so I'm sure you're loving that.
Sorry, I'm wearing my Hawks shirt right now, so Sorry.
What's good? Great. What's good, guys? Great show. Appreciate that, Mo.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate seeing you on the morning show as well. I know Des was in here earlier, but Mo's definitely been a good addition to the network. All right, so second team. I'll start with this since I have the 65 game limit. I had Trae Young, second team. There you go, Dylan. Shout out to Trae Young. I got Mitchell. I got Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, and Sabonis.
No, those are all good picks. Like, I think for all of those guys, I didn't have Trae Young on my first, second, or third, but he was the seventh guard that I was going between. So all those players, I have no bones to pick, especially with your game requirement. No bones to pick there.
Okay. Randall is one I did think about a lot, but I feel like you had to.
No, he deserved it. I'll go real quick for my second team. I had Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell as my guards. I had Jaylen Brown and Jimmy Butler as my two forwards, and I had Jokic as my center.
Okay. It's not bad. I actually didn't have Butler making an All-NBA team.
Dang.
Butler.
I don't know. I feel like when it came down to Miami, I was kind of only give them one, and I went with Adebayo, which I guess I'd get to in my third team. Which, I might as well just do that now. But I had De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, Siakam, Adebayo, and DeAndre Ayton. Finding a third team big man outside of Adebayo and Siakam was tough.
Yeah, with that 65 game requirement,
I was kind of left with Ayton.
You're left with that. Yep.
Yeah, leaving the seat open, so I threw Ayton in there.
I like Jalen Brunson on the third team. When I was looking up just how people would have it, I saw a lot of people putting Brunson on their third team. So that is not anything I hate. He definitely deserves to be on an NBA team. He's definitely taken over for this Knicks. Him and Randall both do. So having both of them on there is definitely well deserved.
All right. I think Lennon.
Lennon can go get his second team.
Yeah, I've got my my list. For my first NBA first NBA team, I had Steph Curry and Luka Doncic for my guards. I had Jason Tatum and Giannis for my forwards, and I had Embiid for my center.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my second team, I had SGA and I have SGA and Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
And I have Jimmy Butler, and I know this is going to get a little controversy, but I have Anthony Davis for my forwards. And then I'm going to put Jokic as my second All-NBA.
Okay. Who's your third team?
My third and right here. I did not write a guard down. I'll be honest, I did not. I had a little bit of trouble with my third NBA team, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass on this one just because it's not fully complete.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, you good. You good. All right. That didn't take too much time. All right, let's go do the mock draft.
Draft.
Yes, because Anthony is still in the chat. Let me know. I'll assign you Washington. If not, we'll do another mock draft in a couple of weeks.
I'll be there. I'm excited.
Y'all disappeared.
Uh-oh.
We did?
I was going to say it did kick me off for a second earlier.
Well, hopefully everybody can see us. We can just keep loading in the mock draft, and Juan, if you can see us, if we still can't see us, let us know in the chat.
Let me see. Well, I pulled up the feed. It still shows us.
That's good.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Is it still having an echo for me?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Okay. I'll get it figured out when I get off here.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. All right. So Anthony is here. All right. Cool. So Anthony will be Washington. And let me pull it up. Here we go. All right. It's loading in. Get past this. All right. All right. So pull it up. Let me know when you can see it, and we'll get started.
All right, I could see it.
I can see it.
Okay. All right, so it's a sign. So I got the Falcons. Lennon has New England. Anthony's got Washington. Dylan's got Seattle. And then Jake is the Saints. There we go. All right. I hate this website's pop up. 23 draft. We're doing 3 rounds. All right. Enter the draft room. All right, there we go. All right, so we're gonna get this started. I guess when your pick comes up, I'll go through any trade offers if there are any out there. You let me know if there's one you want to accept or not. Juan said must have been my connection. Yeah, you good, Juan? On the East, y'all think the beard will murk the Nets or will it be Embiid's show?
I think it's going to be Embiid's show. I think James Harden has accepted his role as being the number 2, and that's why Philadelphia's been very successful with him. He seems to be enjoying distributing the ball, and he knows that if they're going to win, it's going to be with Embiid being the number 1 and not Harden. So the only way I could see it happening is if Embiid plays really bad in a game or gets hurt, but otherwise it's going to be on his shoulders.
Right. Absolutely agree. Hey, Juan, man, you're not going to talk about my man's jersey like that. All right? Because I'm a Patriots fan, too. Don't be hating.
Look,
Wait, Juan, you're a Cowboys fan.
Oh, so he's got plenty of toilet paper.
Huh?
Oh, he's got plenty of toilet paper then if he's a Cowboys fan.
I mean, I agree. I agree.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, he started talking first.
All right, Cowboys Nation, baby. All right, Juan. All right, let's go ahead and get this draft going. All right, so like I said, pick comes up. I'll run through the trade offers. You let me know if you want to take any of them or not. Because I know Lennon said he wants to do trades. I'm all for that as well. So let's go ahead and get started and see how these picks go. So Stroud, Anderson, Carter.
Blevis. Well, I don't want to accept any trades being Seattle. Myself, personally, I'm picking at 5. I don't care what anybody offers me. I want to pick at 5. But overall, that's an interesting pick. Bryce Young being there at number 5 would get a little testy. Anthony Richardson being there at 5 would be a little testy. Will Anderson not being there sucks, or Jalen Carter not being there kind of ruins little things on my board. Those kind of would probably be my top 2.
That's what Seattle needs, is one of those 2 dudes to fall.
Tyree Wilson's been a guy who's been mocked there a lot, but am I 100% sold on Tyree Wilson? Maybe not. I'm going to take Bryce Young here. I mean, I think if Seattle was at number 5 and Bryce Young was still there on the board, that could be someone they deemed as quarterback 1 in the class already, even if their plan was not to take a quarterback. He's there sitting for you, and I think if you have a talent like that, why he would drop, I don't know. But, if he were to go number 5 and the board just be shocked, I think Seattle would jump on that. You don't know if Geno Smith is really going to be that guy, but also you could have someone learn under Geno Smith for a year and be that dude. You'll have a quarterback to fall back on, a young one, on a good quarterback contract as well. Why not take it? You have another pick at 20 to take up whatever needs you need, at edge or corner, D-line. There's tons of great prospects, but there's not tons of Bryce Youngs out there. So I would take Bryce Young.
That's the right pick, Dylan. I just gave a little analysis there that, is he going to fall in real life to 5? Probably not. But if he does fall and those other guys are gone that can help Seattle on defense, this is a smart move to do, especially with Geno. You don't know if he's going to be the same. Also, it's a 3-year deal with not a lot of guaranteed money, so you're not super married to him. You can let Bryce Young sit for a year and just see where things go. If he's there at 5, you have to take him. Absolutely.
And now Kyle up at 8.
All right, let me get my Falcons hat on. I probably won't do any trades, but just seeing what would be interesting. I mean, the Cowboys would. I mean, that's insulting. Offering me just a 4th rounder. I mean, if the Chargers came with this, I probably would take it, but I think the Falcons need to take this pick. Now, with the Okudah move today, Gonzalez might not be the choice here, although I'm still kind of tempted to take them because outside of AJ Terrell, you have Hayward, you have Okudah. That's 3 decent corners. I wouldn't mind adding a 4th guy to that group.
Is Lamar on the team when you make this pick? Because if Atlanta, you gotta go for.
Technically, if I'm Atlanta, I probably would offer 8 for Lamar. Because would I rather have Lamar or Anthony Richardson? I'd rather have Lamar because we know quarterback is weak. Desmond Ridder and Heineke, Heineke as a backup, I'm fine with. Ritter as your starter,
nope.
Got to improve over that. But I think I'll take the corner. I'll go Gonzalez.
Gonzalez?
Yeah.
I think Gonzalez is the best corner in this draft, so that's a good pick.
Yeah, especially in this NFL. All right, Lennon. I was about to say, especially with this NFL, you need cornerbacks, even if that division may not scare you passing game wise, but when you get outside of that division, a lot of these teams come at you with athletic tight ends, a couple of wideouts, so you need all the cornerback help you can get. So, Lennon, do you have any interest in trading this pick, or?
Let me see what offers there are. Because
Bears offers.
The Bears.
That's decent. Packers.
Green Bay.
What is
that?
First?
The Packers to move up 1 spot.
The Eagles. The Bucks.
You know what? This round I'm not going to trade.
Okay.
I'm going to recap the picks real quick, like who the CPUs got, just to see what the board's looking like. I do see some numbers missing. You can just scroll, drag scroll to see who went.
It doesn't let me do that for some reason.
Really?
Oh, there's some funky way to do it, and I don't remember exactly how it is, but there's some way.
That's all good.
Oh, that bar, you scroll down on that bar where your mouse is, and then it shows up.
Oh, okay, there we go.
It's formatted so poorly for this.
All right, so after Gonzalez, Skoronski went, Porter Jr., which I would love for the Patriots to take. Richardson went to Tennessee. If Tennessee pulls that off, I like that. JSN Houston, which I guess would be pairing him up with
Will Anderson.
They didn't even take a quarterback.
They said Davis Mills time.
Let Davis Mills cook.
They're picking next year in the number 1. That's what their goal is.
All right, Caleb Williams, okay. And then Branch went to the Jets.
Well, I'll say this before I make my pick. When I said in the group chat that I had a big trade planned, I actually had the Patriots. You know how the Belichick will go for veteran, defensive players. I actually had him trading a 1st and 2 seconds to the Rams for Aaron Donald.
That'd be interesting. Blow it up time.
Yeah. But knowing Belichick,
the Rams might
take that. Looking at the board, I feel like the best option would be grabbing Devin Witherspoon to boost with Jack Jones and the Patriots defense. Kyle Duggar at free safety. Losing Devin McCourty is a big hit, and I feel like it's going to leave an impact for the first couple weeks. But bringing him in, I think it's going to make up for some of that.
Okay. I would like that pick as well. But Devin Witherspoon to the Patriots.
Anthony's up.
He
said he's not going to trade his picks.
Trades, so we'll take that off. He also said he's going corner, so I'll show you the corners.
It looks like the best corners have already dropped. That's rough.
Deontay Banks isn't bad. Neither is Kelly Ringo. But at pick 16, uh-oh.
Yeah, so Anthony, who would you take? He wants Banks, all right.
Deontay Banks? Okay, that's not a bad pick. He's someone who could rise up draft boards. I did like him. I do like him over someone like Kelly Ringo. I'm not trading that pick either. Screw that. I got 2 first-round picks. I'm taking it. But I do like him over someone like Kelly Ringo. Definitely wouldn't place him over a Witherspoon, Porter, or Gonzalez. I think those guys are kind of in a class of their own. But when you get to that second tier, I think Banks is definitely a good cornerback.
So just to catch up, after the Witherspoon pick, Quentin Johnston went to Green Bay. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, see you later. We're actually going to draft a wide receiver once you leave.
That's Clyde Jacansey went.
Love the pettiness there from Green Bay. Pittsburgh, Cansey from Pittsburgh.
That's who I was hoping would drop to me.
Mayer going to Detroit. Not a bad choice. And then Van Ness to Tampa Bay. So Seattle's on the clock. Who are you looking at, Dylan?
Oh, that's perfect. I'm taking Miles Murphy. Miles Murphy or Nolan Smith now that I look at it. I'm going to stick with Miles Murphy. I think Miles Murphy is still graded a lot higher on a lot of people's draft boards, and that's for a reason. He has better college play than what Nolan Smith did. Nolan Smith, a lot of his hype is coming based off of what he did at the Combine.
Which was nuts, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
to
which was nuts, and that would be more of a Seattle pick. But I know Seattle's met with Miles Murphy a couple of times. I know that he's definitely kind of fit that Seattle mold. We need more of someone who's going to be game ready rather than an athletic prospect, I would say, which is more of what Seattle does. But with us being a playoff caliber team, and already taking a quarterback with that first pick, we need someone who's going to be more ready because we I wouldn't say wasted that pick, but we definitely didn't use it on someone who's going to play now. So why not combat that with getting someone who'd be ready to play now? And that'd be Miles Murphy.
Yep, good pick. Seattle needs help on defense, and that's the right pick.
So, Jake, before you go, I want to see what Jordan's squad in Baltimore did. Just so that Nolan Smith.
Okay.
That's a good pick.
All right,
I got OBJ now, so they're Super Bowl bound.
Zay Flowers went to the Chargers.
Well, he always goes to the Chargers in these mock drafts.
Yeah. Addison to Minnesota. You're pairing him with Jefferson.
Man, they need help on defense, though. I'm surprised with that.
I'm not mad at it. Not mad at it.
Bijan to Buffalo.
I mean, Buffalo needs to figure out running backs.
Let's keep getting richer.
Takes too many cheap hits. And Dallas took Darnell Washington.
Pick.
Okay. And then
Braxton Jones to Cincinnati. They'd be happy with that. Not sure they'd take another tackle, though.
All right. So, Jake, you're on the clock.
Sure.
Are you looking to trade this pick, or are you taking this pick?
I'll see. I'll just see what it's at. There's only one player I'm really interested in. So not that one.
Fifth round's not going to entice you.
No, that one's not looking for that one. No. Maybe if I was a GM and I'm playing the long game, because I don't think Arizona's going to be a good team, but not for this instance. Man, get out of here with that trash, Tennessee. Come on.
I mean,
okay. If I was the GM, I would take this one. I know the Saints need a lot of help, and the Saints are always in a win now mode. But 2 first-round draft picks for a team that's going to be really bad next year. I just want to go on the record. I would take this, but for this exercise, since there's no first-round pick, I'm going to obviously pass on it. But the Saints would take that in a heartbeat. So no trades here. I'm going to take Brian Reese from Clemson. The Saints need help on defense. I was really hoping. Nolan Smith has been my guy. When we did mock drafts earlier before the Combine, he was slated to go about this, and I was really into him. Then he had his Combine, and he just shot up the boards. Bijan Robinson, I was really hoping he would fall because the Saints, I don't think Kamara is going to play a whole lot this next season, and he could help out them. So I'm going to go help with the D-line. They can help with the stop the running game. They didn't have the best running defense. They need someone in the middle, and I think he'd be great. So I'm going to take Brian Brees out of Clemson.
I will say for Anthony, I mean, Dallas didn't take a running back. That is kind of interesting.
Yeah, if Bijan was there, even if you have you're like, this is Tony Pollard's team, okay, you still have Bijan Robinson there.
Maybe
want
they have
Buffalo to have 'em?
PTSD from all the stuff with Zeke.
You want the team that you might play in the Super Bowl to have him? I'll pass.
All right, so Jahmyr Gibbs went to Philly. I'm falling in love with Gibbs going to New England at some point, but I mean, if he goes to Philly, that's a good pickup by them.
McDonald,
McDonald,
KC, great pick.
Ringo to Pittsburgh. Okay.
Great pick. Mozzie Smith.
Smith to
Great.
Houston. Cam Smith to the Cardinals. Yeah, they need cornerback help.
Daniel
I agree.
Forbes and Daquan Jones.
Okay.
All right, Seattle. I'm assuming you're taking this pick, or are you looking to trade?
Yeah, I'm taking this pick still. What's going on at the D-line category? Ooh. Tuli Tulupu is good, and Siaka Ika is really good. Inside of line, there's a dude I'm hoping that I think is still there. And he is. John Michael Schmitz. There we go. That's my pick right there. He's definitely going to be one of the top guards, the second guard after Osiris Torrance. I think he's really good out of Minnesota. Minnesota's one of those ground and pound type games. He did really good blocking. Mohamed Ibrahim was the running back at Minnesota, and he rushes for a crazy amount of yards. And having another rush blocker would be very helpful. You know, we have Kenneth Walker, who's going to be taking over that lead running back role. Seattle's a very run-first-esque type of team. Getting a little O-line help would definitely work out a lot in our favor. Damian Lewis will be on one side of that guard area, and then we get Schmitz to play the other. I think that would be very helpful. Seattle is probably a O-liner piece two away of actually having a good offensive line. I won't say great. I won't say top 10 or anything like that, but Seattle having even a top 15 offensive line is not something that they normally have. So getting some young guys, and we've been hitting on our young offensive linemen. Just we need one or maybe two more to, finish it out. And then that Seattle offensive line would be really good, and which would be very helpful having to play San Francisco twice a year. I hate Joey Bosa. Well, not Nick Bosa, whoopsies. Got the wrong Bosa brother.
Hendon Hooker to Vegas right after. That'd be a good spot for him.
That's who I was going to pick in the second round, but I got Bryce Young. So,
yeah. And Adebo Ware. If I butchered it, my bad, but to Carolina.
He had a good combine.
Yeah, he did. And, I mean, obviously that helped him here getting to the second round. So Saints on the clock. I'll show you the offers. You only have one. Kansas City.
Yeah, take that. We've got a first. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like the 28th or 29th pick next year. I'm not going to take it for this exercise. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Let's see what the whole board looks like. See who's kind of left. I would be thinking about Hendon Hooker, even though the Saints do have Derek Carr. I'm just a big fan of Hendon Hooker. Mm-hmm. If I'm looking at this for our needs, I don't love the wide receiver room that the Saints have outside of Chris Olave. I really do like Chris Olave, so I'm probably going to take Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. I feel like he was a big part of Tennessee's success when Hooker was there. He's a good wide receiver. He's going to pair really well opposite of Chris Olave. Give Derek Carr another competent target to throw to, because the other Saints receivers, I just don't have faith in Michael Thomas staying healthy for 17 games, and I want to give some boost to this offense because our coach isn't that creative when it comes to offensive play calling. And so I want someone that can help spring the offense to life. So I'm going to go with Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee.
All right. Well, let me see who's off the board. Anton Harrison to Tennessee. Okay. Avila to the Jets. Oh, Jets have back-to-back. Drew Sanders.
Drew said, "Yeah, man. I was going to be like, man, if no one takes Drew Sanders, can I trade up?" I feel like Drew Sanders is a guy that could go in the first round. Like, he's the literal best off-ball linebacker in this year's draft, which is, I wouldn't say a bad thing in a sense, but it really shows how weak this off-ball linebacker class is. I don't think Drew Sanders is an exceptional talent. I think him going in the second, third round is probably where he should go. But there's no other off-ball linebackers outside of him, really. So I could see him going as high as the first.
So Juan with the update. Miami coming back.
Yeah, I'm watching.
69, 63. Yeah.
That is one of the most sad
that's
tones I've ever
Miami.
heard Dylan say. Such a sad Dylan. I've never heard Dylan be more sad in the whole time I've known him.
Yeah. They went on like a 20-4 run.
Yeah.
So I will say, I guess for Dylan talking about trading up, I think when we do our 7-round mock, whenever someone makes a pick, I'll ask if anybody wants to trade up, and then we'll kind of do it that way.
That's fair.
I think because of time, I guess we're kind of going about it this way. But
You're good.
We'll have a full draft podcast when we do that. That'll be the only thing we talk about is the mock draft.
Absolutely, yes, and it's going to be great. All right, so Atlanta's on the clock. So I took Gonzalez first round. Really happy with that. Edge would be cool here. They did bring in, because they have listed like Calais Campbell at the end. Although for some reason I see him as a nose tackle, but if you have Campbell and Grady Jarrett on your ends, that's not bad. It's just that you would like to have a young guy to kind of be behind them. I kind of would like to go the wide receiver route, but I actually like Tillman a lot. But I do think Atlanta's defense is probably a bigger need. I will go. Taking a Georgia Tech guy. That'd be pretty nice. I'll go Ojulari out of LSU.
Good pick. I probably would have took Keon White there. I think he's better out of those other two. But when you get to that, it's really who do you like most? Who tested well? Who did you like in your interviews? It probably goes down to those little things.
Yeah. Because I agree with you. I don't think you can go wrong with either one there. As long as that's the position that they go with. Because like I said, to address that need, because Campbell, Jarrett are getting up there in age. You kind of want a young edge guy to bring in, whether they learn under them this year and then make the league next year kind of into the rotation. So that's why I went with that. So now the Patriots on the clock. Let me put this at all so you can see the board. I'll show you the offers, see what interests you, Lennon. Cowboys.
I'm probably not going to trade this pick because originally I did have them trading up for a very high second-round pick, but the person that I was going to trade for is currently available, so I'm not going to trade. We go to the wide receiver section. I'm going to get Joshua Downs out of UNC.
Player.
I feel like he'd be a good pairing with Devontae Parker and Juju. And just to boost that offense and give Mac another weapon.
Anthony, you're up again. Deontay Banks. When I think of that Deontay Banks pick, that's like a very Washington-esque pick. It's like, look at Jahan Dotson last year. It's like, no one was like, ooh, let me have Jahan Dotson with the top 15 pick. And then, Washington did it. And now he's a really good player. So
yeah, and with Dotson too, the funny thing is it took a while for him to really show up. At the start of the season, everyone's like, Dotson, really? But by the end of the year, we're like, and I say that because Washington's the team that's I'm in their market. It's like, dude, Dotson's a dude. But it took like 8 games to get there. So it's, like you said, very on brand for Washington.
So Anthony asked, is Torrance from Florida still there?
No.
Looks like Torrance is gone. Yeah. So I can show you, these are the other interior offensive linemen if you want one of them. If not, this is the overall board right now. So let us know who you'd like.
Cody Mock isn't bad.
Right. I guess I'll leave that up there for him to see. Patterson.
Jarrett Patterson?
Jarrett Patterson.
Out of Notre Dame.
Out of Notre Dame.
Offensive line.
Okay.
I like that pick.
That's a good pick. Don't they have the running back Jarrett Patterson from Memphis? Or I know they used to.
I think so.
I don't think they do anymore. I
know they used to.
But they used to. I don't think he's in the running back room anymore.
Yeah. Just to catch up. So Stevenson, corner out of Miami, went to Detroit. Keon White went to Pittsburgh.
Ah, dang.
Charbonnet, UCLA running back to Tampa Bay, and Musgrave tight end.
I like that. I like that fit in Miami. That's
so
good.
I got another pick again.
Yep.
Not trading. I'm taking all my picks. Build up this team. Jack Campbell is very tempting there. Look at the D line again. I just gotta see who's there. This is where I'll take Thule.
Damn it! I really like Thule. I was hoping he'd fall for me.
He's gonna be a West Coast guy. Seattle does like drafting a lot of people that go to those West Coast teams, the Pac-12, everything like that. They like keeping their dudes close at home. He's a very good defensive lineman. I feel like he might shoot up boards. At the start of mock draft season, at the end of the season, I thought he might have been someone who could go late first round, and now he's kind of simmered down to being a second round guy, which is nothing wrong with that. But Seattle didn't get any D-line help with not being able to get, Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. I didn't take any of them in the later picks as well because there was nobody I like. He's someone I would be willing to spend even that early second-round pick on, but, getting him later and having him drop is better as well.
No, Thule's great. Like I said, I've been hoping he could fall into the third round because I think he'd be a fantastic pickup for whoever gets him, and that tons of value there.
So we had a lot of teams pick between Dylan and Jake, who's on the clock now, but Mouch went to Chicago, Benton to the Chargers, Trent Simpson to Detroit,
to New York,
Johnson, Jacksonville Phillips to the Jets, Ika to Dallas, Tippmann, Buffalo, Laporta to Cincinnati, Uzoma, Chicago, Jack Campbell went to Philly, Tillman to Kansas City, like that for them. Turner, Chicago.
Aldridge Tomlinson to Denver.
Tank Dell to Arizona.
And Pat Surtain would be
Bergeron. Smith, second to Georgia. Williams out of Syracuse to Las Vegas. All right, Saints, you're on the clock. You actually don't have any offers for this pick.
That's fair. Let's see.
This is the Saints' last pick of the three.
Yeah, it's my last pick here. Let's see the tight end room. Let's see if there's anyone of note worth here.
Tucker Kraft, Zach Kuntz, Schoonmaker.
And then just for kicks and giggles, let's see if there's any quarterbacks of note that are worth. Probably, I don't think there are. Yeah, nothing here.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's bad. Saints really need to go to the tight ends. I'm going to take Tucker Kraft. I don't watch a whole lot of South Dakota State, but he seems like a pretty good tight end. Seems like could do a lot of damage, could flourish in the Saints have always done well with tight ends. They find ways to utilize them. I think that's just a smart pick that's there. The Saints, we bulked up our defense earlier, so I don't want to go too defensive heavy when the Saints have a lot of holes on offense.
All right, so Perry, wide receiver, Wake Forest to Tennessee, Trice from Purdue to Houston.
Ooh,
I like them as well, and Reed from Michigan State to Cleveland.
I like that pickup.
All right, so it's the Falcons now. So this is my last pick of the 3-round mock. Let me see, where do I want to go with this? I went corner first round, edge second. Actually, let me take a look at safety.
Jordan Battle.
I kind of like Jordan Battle because the Falcons as safeties, they did bring in Bates in the offseason, which was a good move for them. But outside of that, not that great. So I think they could use another safety. I'll take Battle. Absolutely.
I like Battle. I think Battle's someone who could be as high as early second round. Just has that Alabama stamp of approval on him right there. He is a great safety. He just didn't look as great because he had to play with Brian Branch. He got tested a lot due to having Brian Branch on that other side of the field, but overall he's still a great safety.
And then for me, it's like, you bringing in Gonzalez, you got AJ Terrell, you got Bates. Now I guess secondary doesn't look too bad. You throw Battle in
Only
there.
if you brought in Lamar Jackson.
Hey, it's still a possibility. Although Jordan's probably on the boat somewhere, like, oh, he's coming back now. We got OBJ. Which, I mean, I guess. But all right. So Lennon, looking at pick number 76.
Will you go to offensive tackles?
His
Or
last pick
I'm
of the
about to
draft
say,
as well.
Oh yeah, offensive. Oh, you can just go offensive tackles.
Mhm.
Will you scroll down? There's a certain player I had in mind. I don't know if he's still on there.
Who are you looking for?
It's Lyndon Curtis out of Chattanooga.
Let's see.
He may have gotten taken.
Yeah, he might have, because I can't believe he'd be rated this low.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Probably
I
got
don't
taken then.
Either that or see if it's on just solid O line, because they might have him as guard or something. If not, I'll pick somebody else.
Yeah, he might have just been taken.
Oh,
Oh,
there
there
you
he is.
Oh, he's ranked kind of low. But I feel like with the Patriots needing the right tackle and him already having the chemistry of Cole Strange at center, yeah, I'll go ahead and take Curtis.
That's a very Bill Belichick pick.
Yeah. It really is. They were like, oh, I had a strong grade on it. Doesn't matter.
Woohoo, now I got the last pick. Screw those trade offers. I don't care.
I love the spirit that Dylan has when he rejects the trade offers too. It's just so like in your face. It's great.
Oh yeah.
It's like, we don't need him. I think I still have a dude left, but hopefully he didn't get taken yet. Doesn't look like it. Can you go to receivers? Marvin Mims. Yeah, he's still here. Yeah, I'm taking Marvin Mims. Seattle doesn't really have a great slot receiver. Marvin Mims on the field. He is a good route runner. I wouldn't say a great route runner. A lot of the stuff he had to run at Oklahoma was like, hey, man, if you can beat your receivers, someone's going to get it to you. And, Geno Smith isn't that type of quarterback, but the route running that Mims does have, Seattle can put him on definite routes to help him out. We've had different slot receivers. We tried Dwayne Eskridge. He hasn't been good. Marquise Goodwin was definitely a plus in the system, but he left to go somewhere else. Getting another slot receiver would be good. DK isn't as consistent as we want him to be. And Tyler Lockett, I would give Tyler Lockett the team if you wanted the team. That dude becomes so clutch. I have no hate against Tyler Lockett or how he plays, but getting another slot receiver to help out that offense definitely wouldn't hurt. Seattle isn't known for being a super great offense. We're just kind of a team that, if you let stay around, can find a way to beat you. Getting more firepower on that team would be good. Metcalf, if you can get Mims to play really well, Lockett, Noah Fant, Kenneth Walker, you're kind of creating something there on offense a little bit. You'll have a better offensive line, defensive line, and even, if we get Bryce Young, like I'm projecting, he definitely has a core receivers, or at least a receiver he can work with in Mims in practice that he'll probably, be accustomed to by the time he would start.
Looks like there's a run on running backs. Evans to Miami, Miller from TCU to Baltimore, Spears from Tulane to Dallas. So there's the running back for Dallas. And was there another running back? Yeah.
I was going to take him with my pick.
All right.
Devin
So
Shane's really fast.
Washington. What's the safety?
Let's
looking
go
like?
to go to view all so we can see who's all left on the board. Oh, he wants a safety. That's right.
Yeah, he wants these safeties.
I like Sidney Brown a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good value too. We're picking a 97.
So Anthony,
Honestly,
you
I
want
like the
Sidney
safety out of Florida State.
He said he wants. All right, he wants Sidney Brown.
Pick up right there. Definitely filling out that corner, keeping everyone kind of close to the area as well too. I like it.
All right, so that's the end of the 3-round draft. But for Washington, you got Deontay Banks, Jarrett Patterson, Sidney Brown. I mean, mock draft database thinks he had a decent draft there. Dylan with the Seahawks got the most picks. Bryce Young, which if that happens, I mean, Seattle should throw a party. Miles Murphy at 20. Keep that party going. Schmitz, was it Tui Pilatu?
Yeah.
You could just say Thule and call it good.
Yeah.
We'll call it Tui. And then Marvin Mims. I mean, that's not a bad draft.
That's a really good draft for Seattle.
Yeah.
Put me at the GM.
Saints
Schneider.
got Breezy, Hyatt, Kraft. I mean, they really like your draft. A couple of A+ and an A.
Wish my GPA could look like that.
Yeah, no, bet. I wish my grades were like that.
Patriots, Witherspoon, Downs, loved it. They don't like the Curtis move, but we know Belichick always has that one pick everybody isn't high on. But I get the thinking there, pairing up with Strange. So, makes a lot of sense to me. Falcons, Gonzalez, Ojolari. Battle, they're not as high on, but hey,
No,
I'll take
that's a
that
good
for the-
pick. No, that's a good
Good
pick.
pick.
And if I'm giving the Falcons a compliment, that means something. So
Exactly.
So he said I needed to trade up. Yeah, so Anthony, I said when we do our full mock draft, 7 rounds, I guess the week of the draft, we'll allow more trading around like that. So only because we're pressed with time, kind of did it this way. But actually, let me stop sharing that. Come on back here. I mean, because of the mock draft, I kind of skipped on the player reference, but I will have 3 for
Fine.
next week.
that's
I
fine.
have some good names in mind, so I'm sure I'll stump you again. But before we get out of here,
Bismack Biombo on there.
hey man, don't be trying to give away the secrets now. So before we get out of here, any final thoughts from anybody?
Go Hawks.
Enjoy the play-in. Like what Kyle alluded to, a lot of people weren't the biggest fan when it was first implemented. I was very
I love
weary of it. I wasn't a fan of the idea. First season I saw it, I fell in love with it, and I'm just a huge fan of it now. It's fantastic basketball.
Lennon, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, I can't say I do, other than hopefully the Patriots won't actually trade Mac Jones.
I am right there with you.
Unless it's for
Does
Lamar,
Mac-
right?
Depending on what draft picks we got to give up.
I like that
Lamar,
answer.
the Lamar
Because,
Juju combo.
I was just going to say real quick, I actually had this one other trade in mind. Patriots trade 2 first-round draft picks to the Tennessee Titans for Derrick Henry.
I've heard a lot of rumors of Dallas is looking really hard into Derrick Henry before this draft, and that's someone that they might attempt to trade for, and that's a very Dallas move.
Tennessee would take that offer, I think. As good as Derrick Henry is, 2 first-round picks for a running back, I think
They'd be like,
hop on
sorry, Vrabel. If you want to leave, that's understandable. We're rebuilding now.
that. We're making it so hard for you to prove you're a good win, and you still get 7 wins as a head coach, even though
They're
that team
like,
is a
hey,
3-win team.
Just be like, good luck with Ryan Tannehill.
Pretty much. Or continue the project of Malik Willis, because it did not look great last year, but maybe year 2 something magical happens there.
Yeah, Josh Allen
But,
didn't look great year 1 either.
Yeah, he didn't
I'm
look
not-
that bad.
I
though.
think Josh
That was
Allen's
amazing.
always going to be the barometer for people. Remember, Josh Allen took a couple of years too. Not everybody had Josh Allen's arm, number 1. And number 2, not everybody has Josh Allen's build and running ability. It helps that he's 6'6".
Yeah, but he's
Like,
giant.
He's a big
Yeah.
dude. He had good coaching
Yeah.
too. That's a big part of
Exactly.
it. Ryan Daboll really helped develop him.
It's Danny
But,
Dimes' time.
Appreciate Anthony in the chat, Juan as well. Even though he tried to come on my Patriots, I'll let it slide this week. Mo, Dez, Daniel Barry. Appreciate you guys as well. Like I said, we will do another mock draft week of the draft. We're going to do 7 rounds. That's going to be the whole episode. So expect to see a lot of trading. I know Lennon's big on trades. I am as well. So we'll definitely save it for then. And Jordan will be back at that
Keep
point.
them picks, especially if you got like 30 of them.
If you want, hey Kyle, if you want the Patriots for that full 7, I can take another team.
Okay. Yeah, we'll work that out in our group chat. We'll figure that out. Yeah, another great episode. And I guess enjoy the playoff basketball. I think the Bruins are about to set the points record, so definitely have fun watching Bruins all season. It's a really good time of the year. I give it to the Kraken. Their arena is one of the dopest in the league. I give them that, and their uniforms are kind of nice too.
Plus, for the second year of an expansion, right now we got that last wild card spot too.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Kraken in the playoffs. We also have XFL. I think USFL starts this weekend. Too much. Baseball, it's all good.
Yep. And baseball's way better to watch. That pitch clock, man. Games are so much better to watch.
It really is.
Ferris just hit a cycle today as well too.
Yeah, that's nuts. Early on.
All right. Well, for myself, Jake, Dylan, Lennon, and Jordan, who's out on the sea somewhere, probably kicking it back, who will be here next week. This is the big 3.
Scrolling we are here on Lamar's Twitter feed, just waiting to see that re-signing update.
Just Twitter harassment 24/7.
I bet that's where Jordan was at. I bet he was partying with Odell and Lamar. I bet that's what he was doing. I bet he was doing some. I bet he was doing some work down there. He said he was in Miami. That's where they were partying at. He said he was in that Florida area. He might be doing some business.
Well, if Lamar gets traded tomorrow, we'll know Jordan screwed it up, and it'll be his fault. And I'm sticking to that story. But we're here every Tuesday, 7 o'clock, over on Sports Empire Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. Also, stick around. I believe the wrestling show comes on right after us. So if you're into WWE, AEW, those guys have you covered. So with that, it's another episode in the books, and we'll catch you next week. Enjoy the rest of your night and week. We'll see you later.